50 cents each. Yep. I was so happy. I was like, sweet. And then and then I got the rest of my Dazzlers run, got that filled up. So good
Good evening,
evening.
everybody. Welcome to another episode of Late Night Comics. That's another cold running start. Uh, just a few minutes late, but I was able to launch the stream 1 minute early, so I don't count myself as being late. Joining me, as always, is my parallel universe compadre, uh, RDV. How you doing tonight?
I am doing splendid. I got myself a nice cold can of Crush
Oh, what
soda.
flavor?
Orange. Orange, always orange. Like I said, I've been always been looking for orange, the perfect orange soda. Some people say Fanta. I say no Wanta to that. Uh, then there's the Jolly Good. I was like, nah, or the Graphs was the other one. I was like, Crush, man. Like I tried it. I was like, this tastes like the perfect amount of flavor, of artificial flavor, and it actually tastes good. Doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Mm.
'Cause
I like the
what it
I like
reminds
the
me,
Fanta. Crush is really like sugary to me. It tastes
yeah,
like it's
it's
got like
got
less of the tartness, but like more like sugar.
it's
That
got
makes
43 grams of sugar.
that's it.
And then if you're avoiding sodium, this is 70 milligrams.
Oh, okay. So not too much sodium, but yeah, I mean instant diabetes. Um, no, yeah. I haven't actually had Crush in a long time. I want to try. I remember the last. It's been like years. I remember like trying an Orange Crush, and I was like, oh, like it really shocked me, like how like sugary it was. I think my favorite, yeah, I think my favorite orange is Mountain Dew Live Wire, but I can't even
That
find that.
that is too much. That has too much of a kick for me. Any Mountain Dew, it goes right through me. I just can't. My IBS.
Oh my
So
goodness, you
yeah,
were a Mountain Dew fiend. What are you talking about?
I do drink the original Mountain Dew, but I do suffer when I drink it though.
Oh, all right.
it's,
Well,
it's, it's like having McDonald's. You're gonna suffer, but you just can't help it. Like when the McDoubles used to be $1.
yeah,
No.
I remember that. in the in the, just in the days before the dark times a couple of years ago when Trump was president. Oh,
before the before we went into the dark ages, back in the land of the happiness.
before
No.
everything was twice as much as it was 2 years ago. My goodness, man.
Yeah,
I
that's
go to McDonald's occasionally. I don't go to McDonald's very often, but when I do, it's only because I use the app and I get like some deal like they do. Well, they used to do the dollar fries. Now it's a buck 29. But
so.
still, compared to the normal price, it's like four something. But I would get
I
I get the 2 for 1 when I'm hungry. I get the 2 for 1 McDoubles. Is that what they're called? Or
Yeah,
the double
yeah,
cheeseburgers. They're good. The double
yeah,
cheeseburger.
yeah, yeah. It's a
Two for
thing.
one. It used to be you could get them. They were like two for like it's like $3. Now that's like four something. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, McDonald's is charging four something a piece normally for these. I'm like, I can get an In-N-Out double double for $5. Ah, when your value menu is $4, over $4, that's a problem.
I
But
hear
that's
ya.
where we're going in Southern California, man. It sucks.
You make it.
Anyways,
You make it. So you make it sound like we're going from like a really bad opening of a fantasy movie. Back, there used to be a land of happiness. Then the evil wizard took over. His name is Biden.
it feels like it,
uh,
man. It feels like we're in a movie. Uh,
yeah, the crone took over, and now it's up to Willow. Trump is Willow to save the day. And no, I get as far as the Coke, the McDonald's. I went there one time. I remember I was going there. I was like, you know what? I want a ice cold, like Coke there. Sorry, we don't have. We're not. Our drinks are down. We're not selling any Coke. I was like, I guess I'm going home then, because I'm not
Yeah,
buying any
right.
food there.
Jeez. Yeah, I remember it
Yeah,
was just a couple years ago when McDonald's was like any size drink for 99 cents. That was their
not
deal. I
anymore.
was like, I used to love going to McDonald's. I'd go through there, I'd get a French fry for 99 cents, and then any size Coke for 99 cents. It was like $2, and I'd have a snack. Um, and now it's like the sodas are, I think like they're like double in price, it's like a buck 99, which is not super crazy. Like most places, God forbid you go to Sonic. Oh my gosh, Sonic is like movie theater prices for their sodas.
Sonics
Um,
are they went out of business here in Wisconsin
did they?
because they're just yeah
Dude,
because their price is
a
ridiculous.
large drink at Sonic is like almost $5. I'm like, I was like, what? What?
Well, the other thing is that a lot of people did not like the fact that you had to sit in your car and order and have food brought to you. Like the kind of concept used to fly back in the day. That's all that you had, the drive-ins.
Hmm.
But people are like, dude, I just want to go up to the menu, the window, and order my food and grab it there, and then take it to my car.
You can do that. They have a
This
walk-up window.
yeah, but they weren't allowing you to though
Oh,
for this
really?
one.
Oh, yeah. All the ones out here, you have a walk-up window. They have the stalls, which of course is their signature thing, and they have drive-through. So you got a lot of options. The occasional time that I go there, I actually use the stalls because now you can just order on the app. So I can order on the app ahead of time. You just pull in a stall and say, "Here I am," and they usually bring it out within a couple minutes, pretty quick. But I don't go to Sonic very often because it's way too expensive for what it is. But I do like their sodas because you can get all the mixings. So a cherry lime Dr. Pepper is what I like to get, and you can't get that anywhere else. But it's still
Hmm.
$5. Ooh.
Yeah, dollar Cokes are no longer dollar Cokes anymore. I mean, they were $1.06, tax,
Yeah.
here for a while. Now they're like $1.26 or something like that. I saw. It's like what the hell? It's like soon. It's like it's to the point where you're gonna be paying $2 for a large Coke.
Oh, they're like they are $2 out here. So
I,
you're just lucky
yeah,
you're in Wisconsin. You haven't
I've
the,
gone up
the
25 cents, and that's enough for me.
the wave hasn't hit you yet. Um, Speaking of the wave, let's wave to our audience. Jay, hello, Jay. He's first, and he opens up with "Hey, hi, and hello." Such a creative statement from our boy Jay. Zach Richmond is also here. Um, the evil black cat from the other side of the world is here to troll us. Maranya is here, gracing us with her presence. Eric Breen also calling us nerdlings. Undead Quinn, good to see you, my friend. And am I missing anybody? That's all I see in the names
Uh,
so far.
I don't know, but Zach's saying we're speaking the wrong language. Just Speaks Ambassadors was in France. Well, we're not reviewing it yet. We will speak in horribly bad French accents.
Oui, oui.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
enchanté. We're going to speak.
oh my goodness. Ah, man.
And then we'll read it in a horrible accent, too.
So besides the books we're going to talk about tonight, um, are there any books that are just kind of on your radar the past week that you've read that just stand out amongst the pack?
Well, the main books that always stand out for me as far as these, I mean, I have everyday books that I always read all the time. And those, like I said, I can always talk about The Flash, but I mean, like, the Mark Wade books, I mean, as far as him writing the World's Finest, are always my favorites. It comes out. Like I said, I don't care like the guy as a person, but as a writer, I think it's awesome to read this stuff. But like I said, like I was going through back issues today at my comic book shop because everything half off. I was like, oh look, it's $2.99 for a DC comic book back then. It's just when I was looking at Marvel, I was like, oh, $2.99, and then it's like, oh, now I see it's like $5 for a Batman. But man, Murder Falcon is the one that Zach brings up. We did on Thursday night, every other Thursday nights. we review books offline on Ash's Discord. This time Ash couldn't make it. Skip was indisposed, wasn't feeling well. So it was HR, Zach, and I to discuss the first four issues. And that is a book that is just like insanely like good. I looked at it, I was like, freaking bird, a falcon fighting? What? They're playing music? And it's like this is like Digimon with metal. I'm like, all it's missing at the end is just like a barcode to scan, so you get the soundtrack to each issue. Um, but yeah. So we read through that, dude. That book, dude, is just phenomenal. Uh, and Daniel Warren Johnson on the art there. It's just like it's a lot of adrenaline and a lot of emotion. Um, you know, now there's only 8 issues, so we only talked about the first four. So, but yeah, that's I was just say anybody who basically judges a book by cover, which I'm guilty of, because I saw this first and I was like, Murderfall, it looks stupid. Sat down and read it, man. Turned out to be it's a lot better than I thought it was.
I think that's like the
But
trend for Daniel Warren Johnson is you look at his books and you're like, why the
so
hell do I want to read like why?
well, now
And
I
then you
now I
do
want to
read it and
read.
you're like, oh, I know.
So now I want to read Dual Power Bomb.
Yes. Yes. I
I
totally
told Skip that
everything you just said about Murder Falcon was exactly how I thought about Do a Power Bomb. I was like, what the hell?
it's like
Uh,
so like I
um,
said, like it looks so stupid. Like I was like, why am I even bothering with this crap?
I gotta say
And then
though,
like and then
Murder Falcon just as a title, it rolls off the tongue for me. I love the name Murder Falcon. Um, but that's just me,
like
maybe.
yeah, it's like and then like not only is it just like these monsters that they had to fight, and then like there's this creature like this he's a giant falcon with a cyborg arm, robot or cybernetic robotic arm, and he's from a different world, and like in order for them to power them, Trip is like metal. So he goes, this guy is like, I need you to play guitar, any guitar, and it helps him like fight. Like this is like Digimon. Pretty much. It's like he has to help him out and then they get the band back together and they need like you're led to believe that something happened, like like somebody got sick, and that's why the band broke up and stuff, and then it's like by issue 4 it's like, oh my gosh, that's not what happened, something else happened, really, and it's just like it just hits you, and then like the action, the art, dude, is just like, oh, it's dude, it's one of those stories that I believe a lot of people pass it up because of the name and the fact, and it just said, it had a giant like. I call it a giant chicken, even though it's a freaking falcon. But it's like
Right. The way he's
it
drawn
yeah.
looks, yeah.
So yeah, Skip is probably the only one that probably like picked it up. He's like, dude, I'm getting this, and then like I don't know, man. Skip Itachi is the only person I've ever heard bring up Murder Falcon. No one else in my circle, or even at the store, at comic book stores, are like, oh yeah, Murder Falcon. I like that story, or do Power Bomb. I don't hear anybody talk about that.
Hmm.
But
Well,
it
I
sells.
Daniel Warren Johnson fans, it's like a thing, like you either in the know or you're not. And I wasn't in the know previously. And it was Do a Power Bomb that really cemented it for me. Because I kind of was turned off because I was trying to get on the Daniel Warren Johnson bandwagon when Beta Ray Bill came out and everyone was all super excited. And I read that first issue and reviewed it and I hated it and everything. And I was like, so I kind of got off it. And then Do a Power Bomb came out and everyone was like, oh, you gotta read it. It was like, I was like, what? This looks dumb. First of all, it's pro wrestling. I'm not a fan of pro wrestling, especially in comics. Like I'm like, and then I was like, and it's called Do a Power Bomb. It just sounds cheesy. Like, and then I read it and I was like, oh, I understand now. See the light. And so,
So yeah, Undead Quinn says I'm popping low to high with sound. Um, when I get excited, I talk louder. That might be it. I don't know.
I'll
It
bring your
just
levels down a little bit. See if that helps.
yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson. I am a fan. Like I am at that level now. Like, oh, did Daniel Warren Johnson do something? I'm gonna read it. I just He's that. I love when I find comic creators that are like that. When you can just know, like, okay, I am a fan, legitimately, just whatever you do, and he's one of those. So I got the what I haven't read it yet, but I got the Wonder Woman Dead Earth. That was another book. I remember when that came out, and people were like, "Oh, Wonder Woman Dead Earth," and I was like, "Why is everyone excited about this? This looks like trash." I was like, "What the hell?" And people were like, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited," and I was like, "Whatever." I just rolled my eyes and went on. And now that I'm in, like I've discovered him. Now I'm like, oh, Wonder Woman Dead Earth. I feel like I get it. I get why they were excited. Um, so it's cool. I'm glad I got some. I haven't read everything of his, so I can still read new things.
I mean, I like it when you can like a writer who writes for the big two and puts as much effort or even more into his indie stuff. I'm not sure if Daniel Warren Johnson's ever written a story for DC, but I isn't he also an artist too as well?
He writes and does his own for his indie
Yeah.
stuff. He writes and draws for the big two. Like he did that book that Zachary liked over at DC with the Justice League dinosaurs, but he
Oh, it
did
was Jurassic League. Okay.
Jurassic League. He didn't draw it though.
Mm.
Um,
But like I said, there's very few writers that have worked for the Marvel or DC, but also put like the same amount of effort or talent into their indie books. You know,
well, I think
it's
sometimes it's it's
well,
harder to write someone else's characters than your own. Because if you step in at Marvel or DC, you're gonna pick up a let's say you're gonna write a Spider-Man comic. Like you have to
you're
write
limited.
you have to write Spider-Man, but you didn't create Spider-Man. So the best you can do is sort of imitate. Like it's not it didn't come from your mind. So you're trying to do the best you can to live up to what Stan Lee imagined him. So I think that's a
Unless you
bigger
know both.
challenge to come in and write someone else's material. But when it's yours, it's completely
True.
from your brain and your creation. So you not only do you have
But
the freedom to go wherever you want, but you know it intimately. Those characters and situations are from your head. Like you are defining them.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, especially the main thing problem with writing other characters that you didn't create is that you're limited to what you can write with that character. Um, especially with Marvel or DC. Um, they don't want you writing certain stories with if you get write Spider-Man, you're not allowed to write the marriage. You're not allowed him, getting married. It's like so you basically got to write him being like a loser,
Right. That's
and
another thing. Yeah, the editor's
yeah,
controlling. Like you're like, I want to do this, and the editor's like, nope, you're not allowed to. You're like, ah,
like literally, if I had the talent, like, and I was talented, I'd be like, want to come in and be like, hey, okay, let me write Spider-Man. I'm writing him getting back with MJ. They're married again, and I'm breaking in May Parker, the child originally, Spider Girl, and I'm doing that. And they're like, well, you can't do that because oh, but we don't want them together. It's just like I said, that just pisses me off. The whole thing. It's either editor saying, "Well, it's not an editorial demand. It's just that the people writing it who don't want to write it." I was like, "What?" But then they hear the opposite. It's like that's what I hate about some of these companies. Like, it's if you like own your own book company or your own story characters, you write what you want to write. You know, you know. So I don't know. It might be fun, like to write story. Like I was talking to Joe Corallo or Joe. Anyways, so talking about this, I said like if you had a chance to write a Marvel or DC, what would you write? And he's like, I would write Captain America. And then I asked him, okay, which Captain America? He laughed because there's like he said, obviously Steve. It's like, well, I said, and I said, and it's like, are you if you have a story idea and and it kind of puts a damper on you when you want to write a certain story, but they're like, well, nope, we can't do that because this, or or whatever. We're gonna do that, because continuity here. It's like they choose and pick and choose what you're allowed to write as far as continuity the character. Sometimes they just ignore all of it, and you're like, if you're like Zed Wells, yeah, just come in and just fuck it all up, like because you hate Spider-Man, we hate him too. Like, it, I would have said I would just rather just at that point. I My dream job of writing at Marvel DC now this became to me. I'm pushing me to write my own indie book. My dream is like, why would I write for Marvel and DC when I can write a book or an image, and then possibly like, is if do a co-write. It'd be awesome to co-write like with Ed Brubaker. You know,
Hmm.
like a lot of those writers would write back in the day, like Gary Conway and like you'd have Roy Thomas team up together. Like one plots, the other one writes and stuff. You know, it's like I said, it's kind of depressing to be a writer these days. And then not only that, because everybody's starting off as a nobody, they pay you nobody rates. So I don't know. As I said, the best way for any new writers, start off doing indies. And if you're lucky to get a good artist on the book, it really helps it out too. But I mean, you could have Dan Moore on your book if you're writing, but you're for writing like this horrible like just Tom King, that Batman or Tom not Tom King, but not Batman. I would say Tom King. What was that? Strange Adventures
I
or
didn't.
whatever the one. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I read
yeah,
like the first issue of Strange Adventures,
yeah, yeah.
but
Like not even like the good art on that could even save that book. A
yeah,
good
Tom
would
King,
write.
man, he just
Yeah,
I read his
yeah.
stuff and I just want to shoot myself. Like the way he writes, it's so depressing. Um,
Well, like I like Guggenheim because or even Patrick Gleason because these guys can write a really compelling story and they can use it with subpar art, interior art, and it still makes me want to read the next issue. So not many writers can talk about that where they actually can take a shitty art book, interior art, and make it an actual a book I want to read the next issue. I believe Mark Millar is actually like one of those too. Mark Millar could probably have one of the worst artists on it. He could mention Mark Millar with Roy Rossmo. I would
it's
still
hard,
read a
man.
Mark Millar book.
Mark
I would
Miller
still read it
always
though.
he
Yeah,
tends
or
to always
Marler.
have
Yeah.
really good artists on his book,
And
so
I
it's
know.
hard for me.
I'm just saying. He's at that level. I think he could write a good story, and I would just read it, enjoy the story. I wouldn't even look at the. I would just look at the dialogue, and I could have the storytelling that way. I
Yeah,
would
I
love
don't
it.
know.
I would. I don't know.
I'm a very art person. Like to me, I can't separate the art from the medium because like that's the point of comics. Otherwise, I just go read a novel. You can definitely write great stories without art. I mean, as
Yeah.
novels, we
Well,
prose
my prime
prose
example,
prose have preceded comics, right? And they dwarf comics in the term of sales. But
like
when
my.
you're doing hold on one second.
Yeah.
When you're doing comics, you're doing art. It's kind of like when you go to see a movie. You don't want it to look like the budget was $10,000 and it was put on by a bunch of high school kids. Like part of the that visual appeal. Yeah, you want good writing, you know, and the guys that did um oh geez, what's it called? What's the Karate Kid show? Well, I'm drawing a blank on it.
Oh,
Cobra
Cobra
Kai.
Kai.
That first season of Cobra Kai was done on a shoestring budget. If you go back and rewatch it, like they had
That's
like
still
three
good.
locations. They they couldn't do any real stunts or anything, so they structured the story as basically a bunch of people just talking and stuff like. But it was so creative, like how they got around it. So they had to have. My point was they had to have really good writing to make up for it. And not everything can do that. Ideally, you get that level of writing with great visuals. And I don't necessarily mean like big budget special effects. Good cinematography can go a long way. I mean, it's one of the great things I love about Quentin Tarantino films. Yeah, I mean his stories are just a bunch of people sitting around talking, great dialogue, but he always hires like the greatest cinematographers to do his stuff. His films look gorgeous when they may be sitting around a kitchen table, but the way it's shot is anyways. The new Batman movie, I don't love it like the way a lot of people love it. I think that movie is really overrated, but my god is it gorgeous. Visually, that new Batman movie is like, oh, this make all the Batmans like look like this. Make it's utterly fantastic, and I don't think I would like that movie if it wasn't so beautiful. I think its flaws would really show through a lot more.
Yeah. There's Simon Cross. I think it's Too Dead to Die. I think it was. It was Howard Chaykin doing some art, and then you had Mark Guggenheim doing a story. Art wasn't that great, but the story was just so fantastically fun. You know, just I enjoyed it the most. Just what it's a book I normally wouldn't read, you know, but I picked it up. And it was like, oh, it's like a spy movie coming back, and you know, it's like okay. Um, so then I read Blood Tree, the new Patrick Gleason book. Or sorry, not Patrick Gleason. Peter Tomasi. I don't want to say Patrick Gleason. Peter Tomasi wrote it, and the art is horrendous, but the story is compelling. Like I said, it's very rare for me to find a writer who can just make me care so much about an actual story where the art is like subpar. But I don't know, man. It's like
That art made me drop the book, if I'm being frank.
quietly.
I do like the story, but I was like, I can't pay $4 an issue for this art. I'm like, I'll borrow someone else's issue to read it, or maybe I'll get it in the trade,
Well, that's a wait
but
for the trade. But
I just can't. And I don't want to discourage anyone else from getting it. I like Peter Tomasi a lot, and I want to see him be supported. Um, and you know, maybe not everyone else is. I'm also on a budget as well. If I just had money overflowing, I probably wouldn't. I'd just be like, whatever, I get them all. But and not just a budget monetarily, but budget in space. I'm at the point
I
now
know.
where I'm like, I don't want to get more comics. I don't have room for. Like, I can't. I don't have like Eric, where I have like a whole house dedicated to comics. Eric Breen, that is. Um,
Well, he doesn't have any pets.
Zach
Yeah,
Zach is taking a hot take in the comments here. He says Mark Miller did work with Frank Quietly, so he doesn't always get great artists. Good one, Zach. Good hot take from our boy Zach.
really.
No, you don't
That's
do
more.
a sound bite to a sound. Come
That was an L take.
on. Yeah, obviously, when Zach does a hot take, it's always the opposite of what he's saying. We all know that, but we humor our boy to make him feel good. Um,
When Zach makes a joke.
all right, let's ease off here. We're gonna Austin says, "You're not being Frank, you're being Ash." Beep, 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 beep. Ah. So, speaking of being
Miller's
Ash,
also now they're just trying to troll you. Now they're saying like Miller's mid.
well, that I mean that's just silly. If you're gonna troll, at least make your trolls like believable, or at least if you're being sincere, don't 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 put on display your lack of taste. That's what I recommend. This is a piece of advice. Like if I think if I thought, for example, um, Alan Moore was a bad comic book writer, I wouldn't say I don't like his stuff. I might just keep it to myself.
Uh, Zach, I'm only using the Discord sound bites. I'm not using my sound card. So
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah.
look at
Go
Zach
ahead.
trying to jump in on the bandwagon and try to mock Frank Miller. Ah, you guys, just silly to me.
There's a lot of hate in the other chat. The other they're trying to say that Frank sniffed his own farts. He thought
I
they're
think
good.
he probably did for a while. I mean, look, Frank Miller was that big. Like he transcended comics. He was one of the first to do like he was that big. People that weren't getting comics in the 80s, like you don't realize how big he was. And when you're a comic book back then, nowadays we got TV movie writers coming and making comics. That wasn't the case back in the day. That just never happened. So when Frank Miller got to do movies, that was a huge deal. Like that was just something comic writers never did. Mostly because they didn't really necessarily want to. They were happy doing comics, and comics you could make money, but it was also because something like Hollywood would never like we're not gonna hire a comic writer, but Frank Miller transcended. He was that big, and yeah, it went to his head. I mean, I think he realizes it. I realize it. That doesn't diminish what he did, though, right? Like the fact that it went to his head and he messed himself up and whatever. And he came, he's like Icarus. He flew too high to the sun, the wings melted, crashing down. It doesn't diminish the fact that he flew in the first place.
He wrote the
So,
best Daredevil run ever. Still
yeah,
today, nobody's come close.
yeah. So, it's popular now. Oh, I'm gonna make fun of Frank Miller, but to me, I was there when he was walking amongst the clouds, and there's never been to this day since that time and before there's never I have not witnessed anyone rise to that level. I don't know if we ever will see it because of the way the industry is now, but so to me, poking fun at him now just it seems like sour grapes. It's silly.
Almighty
How
tweeted about Hollywood writers coming in to write comic books and how the actual comic book writers lost projects because of it.
I saw that tweet actually.
Yeah,
I can't remember if I commented it on, but yeah, I saw that tweet.
I'm
Sucks,
glad they're speaking
Palmiotti.
up. Yeah,
Sucks. But I mean, but you guys did it. Like if I'm talking to Palmiotti, you guys did it to yourself. Like we as fans have been telling you that you guys have been fucking up the industry for a long time, and we didn't want it. I didn't want failed TV writers coming in writing comics about characters they know nothing about a genre that they know nothing about, or even worse, they don't actually like. Part of the reason why comic book movies took so long to like actually get good is because TV and Hollywood writers disrespected them. They did not. They thought that comics were for losers. And so whenever you would see like when X-Men when they made the first X-Men movie, they had to so radically change it because they were actually embarrassed about the material that they were doing. So they had to try to cool it up and take the comic out of the comic. And then you get these people that actually then come to comics. What do you think they're going to do? They don't respect it. They think comics are lame, and so they're going to try to unlame them, whatever that means, fix them, and they don't. They just end up ruining them.
I gotta say the best cameo ever was Spider-Man in that X-Men #1 in the blooper reel. When they're in they're in the Statue of Liberty, the torch, and they like Spider-Man was like, "Oops, oh, sorry, wrong movie."
Ned Quinn says Frank Miller is hit and miss. It depends on what era he wrote. Well, I mean, Frank Miller has written comics since the 70s. So he's been around for a long time. He destroyed his body and mind on alcohol, I want to say in the 90s, 2000. I don't, but, well, maybe
Is
it was
and then
2000, but I don't remember exactly the time. But you basically take Frank Miller from his inception all the way up through 300, and that is golden age Frank Miller. Then he went
so
to
you're saying he wrote?
Hollywood. It would drank a bunch of booze, destroyed himself. Eventually came down from cloud nine, realized that he was being prideful and everything. Came to his senses, decided, his love of comics, everything. He humbled himself again, came back. But by that time, he's a fraction of himself, and I recognize that. But again, that doesn't undervalue what he did, right? Everyone grows old. Everyone loses a step, right? It's just the way that it is. When Jordan retired and then he came back out of retirement, he wasn't the same Michael Jordan. But we don't go, oh well, Jordan's not the greatest because look at his second era Jordan. No, I mean we just recognize Frank Miller is
Have a
past his
collage.
prime. He's an
Yeah,
old man. The fact that he can even write comics is amazing to me. Like I'm just like, okay, just let him do whatever he's gonna do. I'm just gonna be like smile and be thankful that I can even get something from Frank Miller. He's never gonna write. Well, hopefully he will, but
Look at
I don't expect he'll
look at
ever write anything great again. But
look
that
at Tom
doesn't.
Brady. Same thing. Tom Brady, Brett Favre. We're gonna retire, but then they came out of retirement, and then people just hate him.
Austin says, "Wait a minute, my head was interpreting Miller as Mignola. I take my statement back." All right, there we go, Austin. All is forgiven.
What do you mean Palmati has so many dumb takes?
He does. He
What?
not quite as many as Zach, but he does.
What so you're saying what he's tweeted about Hollywood writers coming in and just that? I think that's a good take. Now, I don't know about his other ones, but the guy seemed legit so far. He's
Oh
not
man,
out there yelling at.
Palmiotti is
He's not,
famous for saying that the comic book industries needs celebrities going out and promoting comics, and that's why we're not selling enough comics. And I'm just like, what, dude?
wow, you could have honestly. I think you could have. They could go back to the '80s and have like a good writers come back if they hire certain policies. But I think the damage at this point is too late, too little, too late. I think most people, like I said, the normies don't even know that comic books even exist or go. They know about manga. They're like, oh, comic books? Oh, I didn't realize those things. Like for
Yeah.
me personally, I had no idea the comic books were even a thing either until I was 18. I watched the cartoons, but it never dawned on me that they were actually based off a comic book because they never was never mentioned anything you watch. You know, same with Blade. When you watch Blade, it doesn't say go check out the comic book. The only thing I knew that there was, I knew something about comic book was the Superman. And as far as Christopher Reeve, because I watched that, and I was like, oh, it has action comics. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But if you're a normie, you don't really if they don't you don't see about comic books, you really don't know they exist. But nowadays, I think that you could, advertise like, check out your local comic book store today, or like for me, the bad part, the comic book shops, they're located in like middle of nowhere. They're not like, at the main place where the mall is, where kids would see it every day. They're not the comic books aren't in the shops or next to the grocery stores. They're just in locations where, like I said, unless you live over there, you don't know they're there.
Oh yeah,
You
they
know,
can't afford the prime real estate. You-
as I said, that really also hurts too for the local shops.
yeah, no. Here's the deal. Like I was there when comics became popular again. That was the '80s. Like that's and the whole reason why we had the '90s is because of the '80s. It wasn't because celebrities came out and were like, kids like comics. Like it wasn't. Comics back then were like manga now. It just slowly started grabbing hold. And then kids like me would get into them and they'd be awesome. And I would share with my friends and be like, dude, check this out. And then they would get into it and it would slowly spread over time. And it took a good decade. Like it didn't happen overnight, but it got popular. And Marvel did really good things. They took the popular cartoons of the day, like G.I. Joe and Transformers, and guess what they did? They got the license, they did the comics. So if you were a kid like me, like you were into those shows, there was an avenue to get more stuff. Now, remember, back then, too, there was no Netflix, there was no YouTube, there was no, like, if you wanted more, you couldn't just get on demand, hit a button. So they just capitalized really well on that popularity. And then number two, the other big reason why comics became a success was the collector's market. Collecting things is something humans like to do for the most part, right? That's why coin collecting is a thing, stamp collecting is a thing, baseball cards collecting, like humans like to do it. And so you took this hobby of like, oh, comics are fun to read, but also like you can collect them. They could maybe go up in money. It was exciting to be like, oh, I got this issue and it had a first appear like Mike, that comic went up and like you had it in your collection. There was like bragging rights. It felt good. It sent endorphins, yada yada yada. That was all there. The industry has forgotten everything that I just said. Now manga succeeds. They don't have collectability, but manga's doing the first part with just being popular with the kids. It's grown. And now kids are telling their friends, "Man, I love this, like I'm into this thing." Oh yeah, and then it spreads because what do kids do? They copy other kids. If a kid has a group of friends and they're the one not doing what the other friends are doing, it's only a matter of time before they start doing it because everyone wants to fit in. That's a part of being a kid. And yeah, there's exceptions to every rule, but that's how manga, in my opinion, is blown up. And I look at my buddies' kids; they're into, like, especially the older daughter. She's big into manga, and I can tell that her influence has gone past me. Like I've had minimal, like, oh, check this out. But now her friends she's getting into all these different ones that I've never even heard of, and it's like cool. Like that's what comics aren't doing. They've lost that generation. First of all, they're not even really marketing to kids. Like kids don't think comics are cool. The comics have focused on my generation, trying to keep my generation, which I appreciate. Like I don't want comics to, you know, forget me, but they can keep me just by being good, right? Like because I like manga. I'm not like an well, I am an old stodger, but I don't necessarily need everything to just be the way it was. I can appreciate new things. I listen to new bands, I watch new types of movies and things. I don't just stick with the old. You just have to be good. And comics could do that, but they're just I don't know what they're doing. Well, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think the biggest issue is that comics would need to do the two things that I mentioned, and then on top of that, they would need a lot of time. And that's something I don't think the industry has, that I don't think they have. And but even if they do, I don't think they don't have anyone willing to put in the time, right? Like I don't think they have like a Jim Shooter who took over. When did he take over? The late 70s. He took over. Did he take over for Stanley? Can't remember. Breen's still in the audience. He can fill us in, but he took over and he had this timeline. Like he was willing to like make it progression year after year after year after year. It wasn't like they expected Marvel to turn around on a dime. It's kind of like a sporting franchise. If you got like a losing team, you hire a new coach and whatever. You don't expect like the next year to win. You got to just build it up, and you have to be willing to take that time. And I think these days, back then it was just Marvel needed to look out for Marvel. These days, I think the industry needs to look out for the industry. It's not enough that I think like Marvel just well, maybe Marvel could because they got the brand, but like I don't think DC could just be like, let's just do good comics and everything will be fine. Like DC needs everyone else to also be doing good. They need to lift rising tide lifts all boats. So they need to make it so that people are excited about the hobby. Once they're excited about the hobby, then you can start selling the books in the hobby. Like, um, people who go to comic book stores, like us, me and RDV, and probably maybe you guys listening, we want to be excited about what's contained in the store. We don't go there going, I hope they only sell me 2 books. They better not try to sell me more than 2. Like, I don't go in that way. I go in going, I want all these books to be exciting. I want it to be difficult to make choices and go, oh, I got too many books. Like, that's a good thing. HR has joined us. Welcome, HR. Um, Undead says his shop is in a sketch part of town. Okay, um, my comics are too much for adults now these days. The prices don't help. Yeah, that's the prices is a big deal. It used to be comics were like disposable income type thing. Like, a few bucks here, a few bucks there, buy me some comics, have fun. Nowadays, it's like a major purchase. I lose RDV. He's been having some internet issues.
No, I'm still here.
$4, $5, $6 an issue for a little quick read. Yep, I hear you, Undead. I've been breaking it, but I really try to stick at the $3.99. If a comic goes to $4.99, I'm like, nope. if I'm gonna pay more than $3.99, it better be like a double, triple size issue type thing. I'm not like the one of the biggest reasons DC lost me. I mean, it was it was a bunch of things, but the overall thing, because I was like, I'm gonna still hang on. I'm gonna because when they said Rom V and Chip Zdarsky were taking over Batman books, I was like, oh. And then I saw the issues were $5.99 when they came out, and I was like, nope, not getting them. Sorry, don't care. People go, well, they got backup issues, Ash. That's why there's a big. I'm like, I don't care. I only want the 20 issues. That's the main story. I'm not paying $5.99 for it. They can go suck it. DC knows they're exploiting their customers. The backup stories are nonsense. No one cares. 3.99. Make your books 3.99. Try to sell as many copies as you can. I will support. I will support good writers and good artists. But for me, that was my breaking point. I was like, I don't care anymore how good the quality is. I'm not paying for this.
Do, 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 do.
All
So,
right, let's transition into a comic book subject topic. Apparently, there's a big rumor going around that Margot Robbie has been offered the role of Sue Storm.
yeah, same as the rumor about what's her name being the thing.
Yeah, that's a little less credible. Here I have an article from CBR.
Yeah, but I don't think how is that any more credible than this? Like, or less credible?
Well, I think one was just a rumor spread around social media. This is
I think
actually
I this might be a rumor too, because she's still doing Harley Quinn stuff, and James Gunn is still doing the Harley Quinn
well,
stuff.
they're taking. Anyways, everyone take this how you want. This might be, but according to this, they got a scoop from a source from Marvel Insider saying that this was the case. Now, uh, this doesn't say that she took it. It just said they offered her the role. So this could be completely true and still be a nothing burger. Um, I don't think it's an unbelievable thing. Margot Robbie is a popular actress. She's blonde haired. She's not just popular, but she's well liked by the comic book community. Like this seems to me like what a Hollywood suit would do. So to me, it's a very plausible storyline. So for the sake of discussion, let's just assume that this is an accurate rumor. She has been offered. What are your thoughts? Like,
No,
would this be a
nope.
good thing? Was it a bad thing? Would you?
I I still only want John Krasinski and his wife. We've already had Fan Four Stick. It just seems that the direction of the Fantastic Four movies are getting worse and worse. Um,
Well,
Margaret Robbie
I think everyone would
can
agree with you. We don't want a bad Fantastic Four movie.
and I don't. I said Margot Robbie can stay over being Harley Quinn. She works at that role, being the most hated character. But I don't know. Like I said, one guy said like, "Hey, at least she's hot." I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like Brie Larson, like until she talks her mouth open. No, Brie Larson's kind of good to look at, but I mean, a lot of these actresses, like, they're trying to say like, "Oh, well, with Scarlett Johansson, now characters out, they're gonna bring in another hot girl." It's like Margot Robbie. I don't know. Like I said, I'm at this point. Just bring back Jessica Alba.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes.
I was a big Jessica Alba stan, and even I didn't want her as Sue Storm. That was dumb. Um,
With this race swapper, we have a girl with a black girl with a blonde wig.
so okay, so I get you want a quality Fantastic Four movie, and I get that you like what's his nuts. I don't who's John Krasinski's wife.
It's trying to think. She's the girl that was in Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. She was also in the movie The Quiet
Emily
Place.
Blunt?
Yeah, Emily Blunt.
You want Emily Blunt as Sue Storm?
Yeah,
Oh
someone
no.
who
Oh.
actually knows how to
Oh.
act.
Margot Robbie can act. That's not. Come on.
And what? Just being, I'm a ditzy blonde. Yeah.
Oh, Margot Robbie's done more than let's see. What has she done? I know I've seen her in other things. I think she's a quality actress. Um
Oh,
oh yeah, she was in that movie Babylon. I didn't see it, but it was a critical darling. Um oh, she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Wait, is this the acting roles? Let's get rid of producer.
no, it's not. I've seen her in the other one with Will Smith. She was in that role too, whatever that movie was. And then there was another one with her and
Oh yeah,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Focus.
Yeah, I just don't care for her as an actress.
Wow. All right. Well, we disagree on that. What was the one? Oh yeah, the one when she was Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, she was. Now I can see you might feel she could be a little typecast. That might have
Pretty
been why
much.
she got the Suicide Squad from the because of the
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street thing. But um, huh.
And then
I
Quintus, yeah, he says she did one good indie film that he liked.
I like Margot Robbie. Um, very much. I would like to see her do more stuff. I would be against this role for one particular reason. I don't like when actors play different characters in superhero universes. It really like throws me off.
Aren't you
Um
over DC now? You're a Marvel person? What? Yeah.
Kinda, right? Or even if it's in the same one. Like it didn't take long cuz I wasn't a big Fantastic. I hate the Fantastic one, but like seeing Chris Evans be Johnny Storm and then Captain America, like it immediately was kind of like what? Like
It was weird for me too, but then I get used to it because I forgot about the Fantastic Four movie.
right, right. Once I forgot about the Fantastic Four, then yeah, the Captain America completely outshined it. But here, Margot Robbie could very likely be doing another Harley Quinn movie, right? So they'd be like
Yeah.
simultaneously bouncing back and forth, and I think that that's kind of meh, you know. And I say this the same thing. Like I don't want to see Chris Pratt over
Uh,
doing some DC movie because of the similar reason.
I would,
So
you know what? Actually, a lot of people have been saying this too, and I kind of want I would like to see Hugo Weaving's niece in there, Samara Weaving as Sue Storm.
so what's her name? Samara.
Samara Weaving.
How do you
If you watched Ashley Evil Dead, that series
let's
where they go to
see.
the cabin, she's one of the hikers.
How do you spell it?
It's Samara Samara,
S
and it should
A
be Weaving. Yeah,
Samara Weaving.
or Samara, or wherever you pronounce it.
Uh, She's got a weird face.
Everybody has a weird face.
I mean, yeah, but better than Emily Blunt. I would rather. I mean, if I'm just going based on headshots here,
Happens,
yeah,
you know.
I just can't see Emily Blunt in the role. Not at all.
Well,
I would
she
almost.
the reason I would say for her in the role because her and her husband have natural chemistry together. You know, that's why they're married. And seeing them together in the what was it the Quiet Place. You know,
Perhaps,
that they,
perhaps,
I,
but I
I,
just
yeah,
I'm a purist. Like when So for me, a lot of it isn't just your quality as an actor. For me, it's like I want to see you visually represent the character that's in my mind's eye. And if you look too
Zach
different,
says,
like Emily
yeah.
Blunt
I,
just doesn't feel like Sue Storm to me. So
Zach
I
says she needs to have a motherly vibe. Well, I wouldn't want Margot Robbie because I'd get the murder. I'm gonna kill my children vibe.
well, you're confusing Harley Quinn with the actress. Like I don't think that
No,
Margot
she
Robbie
has a
is Harley
crazy take.
Quinn.
She's like Brie Larson outside the movies. The way she just says some stupid stuff.
Well, most of
Uh,
Hollywood says stupid stuff. They live in a sheltered world.
then I expect you to go watch in the Marvels, right? You're
I
gonna
honestly
watch it
don't
with.
think I'm going to tell you this. No, I don't think that. Oh gosh, I just blew her. The chick that plays Carol Danvers. You just said her
Brie
name, and I
Larson.
just Brie Larson. I don't think Brie Larson is the problem. I mean, I think she has
No,
problems, and I think she'd said a bunch of
no,
stupid stuff to bring up the animosity of the fans. But the way she is in that movie is
it's
purely two
directing.
things: the
Yeah,
director and the writing. She's just reading a script. She's playing a character the way she's told. They could have wrote a completely different character, directed it different, and she would put in a different performance.
I said
Um,
I like the last 20 minutes of that film. It just was a totally different film than the first film. It's like what the heck,
so
it became all action, all that stuff, and I was like, where was this the whole entire movie? All I got was Nick Fury making horrible jokes and playing with a cat. That was literally the like the good 3/4 of the movie.
so I would like to
So
see. I honestly would like to just see them go with a new young starlet that we've never seen before. Find a good person that like fits Sue Storm and can play the role and do it. I don't need a big name star. And I don't think anyone else does either. And I think that'll be bad for the franchise to throw a bunch of big names in there, then later on go, I want to renegotiate my contract. I don't want like that'd
it
be the
really depends
problem
on
if you
how young you want to cast. Because I'm looking at some of these, like unless you get a person that's never been in a movie before, just fresh off like the theater, it's hard to say. Like I said, you can get you can get someone, and it's just yeah, it could be a badly written, or and just bad directing, even with a nobody actor. So I'm
Oh,
just at the
true,
point I'm
true.
like, honestly, I'm happy without having Fantastic Four. I don't need it, at this point.
Well,
Same with X
that's
Men.
come on, that's silly. I
No,
mean,
actually, honestly, I don't. I saw what they did to the Avengers. I don't
well,
really need another one. Yeah.
so what do you need?
Well, would I rather actually have more? I'd rather just have instead of having live action, just bring the animated films. Separate game up
Okay.
because
So
you can
you're
get
not
way.
interested in more MCU. So,
But
and that's fair. You're allowed to be interested in whatever you want, but that's not really fair to then like judge what's good for the MCU if you just don't want any more.
uh, well, no, I didn't say no more MCU. I just said the MCU would be better off if it was they done like an animated instead of doing it actual live action. Because now you're
Oh,
stuck with like everybody wants like the Chris Evans because it looks like Captain America. If you would have done a voice actor, you can just replace the voice actor. And you can just get the same script as long as said yeah.
you want animation. The thing is most of the world doesn't. And
So the normies,
the
yeah.
success of the
So
MCU is based on the fact that they're live action, big budget films. Um,
they're
so
based on the fact that the reason they're more successful is the fact that normies just don't give a shit about the comic books and they'll eat up anything to the point,
they
you
won't
know.
eat up anything, as evidenced by the failure of DC films. You still got to give them good movies, but they do they do want live action, and I think for the most part, even a lot of comic book fans, we want live action. I'll speak for myself in particular. I don't care about the animated films because in my mind, the comics are already animated films. In my mind's eye, a good, well illustrated comic that has an artist that understands sequential art, it's animated in my mind's eye.
But
So
see, Zach, you're bringing up two different things. James Bond has always been notorious for having replacing actors. You're not gonna get another Tony Stark in there replaced. You're not gonna get another Steve Rogers. They're just gonna bring in. They'll never do that. Just like you'll never get another Black Panther. They have Shuri now. It's Black Panther.
Well,
Like that's the
may,
difference between that and James Bond. Like, you just never. That characters age out of the roles fast.
maybe not. The difference though in James Bond is that it's a soft reboot every time they switch the actor,
Yeah,
right? So like when Daniel Craig took over, it was a total reboot. It wasn't a continuation of the Pierce Brosnan movies. Now, the MCU, however, switching the actor is not as simple because it's a continuation. You switch the actor in the continuation of a story. Imagine if you're watching like Lord of the Rings and in the third movie, Gandalf is played by someone else. Well, you don't have to imagine. Harry Potter. It's the hardest thing. Like we watch the first two movies, you have Dumbledore, and in the third movie, it's a different guy, and it stands out like a sore thumb. It drives me nuts to this day. Um,
yeah.
it's a
Getting
tough.
another Hulk. Yeah, when Hulks were standalone movies, when you had Robert, they're not going to replace Robert Downey Jr. You can replace Batman's, and it pisses off fans. There's a lot of people who are still pissed off that they went away from Christian Bale, or even the fact they went away from Ben Affleck. I said it's you can blame as much as you want about writing, but some people just don't like the actor. You know, like I said, if you like I said, and like I said, the dumbest decision, and I guarantee it's gonna bite him in the ass, is getting rid of Henry Cavill for Superman. They want to
That's
do us, yeah. I
that.
I think that's
Go ahead.
yeah.
I
I
was
was just
just.
gonna say it. I was gonna say you can replace the Batmans, but most Batman movies before the Bale were throwaway movies. No one
Yep.
gave a shit.
Yep.
Robert Downey Jr. put he put Tony Stark on the map.
Yep.
So you're not gonna get another Tony Stark. If you think that, you're on cocaine, bro. You're on something. Uh, and as far as the Hulk is basically the reason they replaced the Hulk because he's just a CG animated person. If they really wanted to, yes, they might replace the Hulk. No, but I
Well,
mean, like,
they replaced Hulk, but that's only
with
considering because the Edward
yes,
Norton
yeah.
film is technically part of the MCU. I I I don't really think it is. I think most fans don't consider that part of the MCU, but it technically is, and Disney keeps reinforcing it by building on it. But it was easy to do that because when that film came out, there wasn't an MCU yet, and so when you
So
saw the Hulk finally in the
yeah,
MCU, people just naturally, myself included, assumed it was a brand new, like they weren't connected. It took years of like my buddy going, "No, dude, that Incredible Hulk is part of the MCU." I was like, "No, it's not." Like I really didn't believe it.
well,
Um,
look at
so
Keaton. He said the whole Keaton thing. He's in there for 2 movies, and then he was gone.
yeah,
And they just said so many actors. So Keaton, yeah, he was at the time it was great for Keaton, and then a lot of people didn't like Batman Returns.
yeah, that
And
Edward
Zach didn't
Norton
like it.
movie, that Edward Norton movie was not great, Zach. No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no.
If the Ed Norton
Uh,
movie was so great, why did they replace Edward Norton? And they could blame it on he wanted to do all the stuff, but it came down to the point where they just go with Mark Ruffalo and just have a CG Hulk, and then use like the Norton Hulk, pretty much. You know,
well, I
like I
mean,
said,
they just made even a different Hulk.
Eric Bana was a throwaway too. It was a one shot.
It was a
You
one
know,
shot. I wouldn't say it was a throwaway, but keep
most
keep
people
in
forget
mind
about the bear. Yeah,
keep in
I
mind
was just
though
saying. But
the Eric Bana Hulk movie was not part of Marvel, right? So you got these studios that are buying the rights. They're going and like, hey, we want to make this movie out of your IP. We'll give you this much money, like so Universal Pictures bought the rights to make a Hulk movie. They don't care about the Hulk. It's not their product. They're just trying to make money. So I
mm,
guess in that sense it is a throwaway movie, but it what Marvel's doing, Marvel is a studio, it's its own movie studio whose very existence is to make Marvel movies. Just like
Yep.
Marvel Comics. Like Marvel Comics exists to make comics in the Marvel universe. So it's imperative that Marvel Studios treats the movies the way Marvel Comics at least should be treating their comics, like building this universe, keeping it relevant, right? Universal doesn't care. They can make a Hulk movie and then never make a Hulk movie again and go on and do other stuff. Warner Brothers is the same way. Even though Warner's owned DC Comics, Warner Brothers wasn't DC Comics. So they treated the properties in the same fashion as like, yeah, we'll milk this and make some money and then we'll move on. And that's evident. Those two Batman movies with Michael Keaton, the first one was a huge, huge deal. The second one almost burned the franchise down. And then
Yep.
they went on and got Val Kilmer to be in the third movie. And then guess what? He didn't want to come back and they, they got George Clooney to be in the fourth because the movies weren't treated seriously. And at the time, it was the best thing we ever had. So in relation to like what our expectations were, yeah, like those Batman movies back then and that 80 Batman 89 was a huge huge deal because that
It
it
changed the
was
tone. It went from
relative
yeah,
to the time. If Batman 89 had come out today, it'd be a joke because our
yeah.
expectations have completely changed. As no more evident by than the MCU. How the MCU nowadays is looked at as a joke, but I can tell you, like, because I lived in the 80s and the 90s, if I would go back in time and tell myself and my friends, this is what themselves like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine them making an Iron Man movie that's actually good, that actually feels like the comics, and it's like big budget and looks amazing. Like, no way, they're never gonna do that. That's but now our expectations are there. Now that we've been given it, we expect even more. It's not enough. It's not enough to
Like
have 20 something movies in succession all connected together with a shared universe. Something that was unimaginable 2 decades ago.
I
Now
guarantee that more normies know who Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man than they do as Michael Keaton as Batman. At this point, it's been forever since he was Batman. They're like, oh, he was, and they probably never watched it, or they don't remember watching it. Where versus Christopher Reeve's Superman is iconic more so than the Batman. You may not agree, but that's my opinion. You know,
it is. It is his Superman was more iconic.
yeah.
And
I
I think
liked
part of that
I liked Henry Cavill as Superman, but I did not like the Man of Steel movie. It didn't feel like Superman. So
yeah. I mean, I love the first half. The first half of it I think is one of the best Superman movies ever
the
made.
reason they're trying to get Keaton to sell the Flash is the people who are like us, the actual comic book nerds who watch those movies. They're trying to get the us to come back because they know the normies don't give two shits about the Ezra Miller Flash. So they're trying to lure us in. They actually sell the Flash. But at this point, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think they're just gonna have Keaton be a joke in the movie. I don't think he's
No,
even gonna be
Keaton,
serious.
look, I agree with what you said. Robert Downey Jr. is probably more known as Iron Man than Keaton is Batman. But let's take things in stride. Keaton did two Batman movies 30 years ago. Robert Downey Jr. has done what, like 10 Marvel movies? Like he is the
Then
face of the
yeah,
MCU, which is the biggest
yep,
franchise
yep,
in existence.
yep.
So that's not to demean Michael Keaton anyway. Michael Keaton was big. Robert Downey Jr. is even bigger.
During his time, he was, but I'm saying, is he big still?
Yeah.
Not,
I mean,
I
the
don't. I
reason,
wouldn't.
look, man, the whole reason Birdman even got made the way it was is because of his people know him as Batman. The fact that Michael Keaton was the Vulture, like that brought back all sorts of member berries. Like, even though he wasn't Batman, seeing Michael Keaton in a comic book movie again, that like people had that nostalgia factor. It was cool. He's not as big as Robert Downey Jr., but you're right. Like people my generation, people that remember the '80s and that Batman movie, they have fond memories. Like I'm trashing the film. I got people in the audience like defending it. So clearly there's positive reaction. I know, and a lot of people are looking forward to seeing it. Um, I don't
I
think it's
just
going to
see
be as
Zach.
big as
Zach's the only one
I don't think it's going to
defending
be
it.
as big as Tobey Maguire. I think that's what
Uh,
a lot of people are hoping for is the Tobey Maguire effect that No Way Home had.
yeah,
We'll have to see the film. I've heard positive things about the Flash film, so I'm hoping that it's
I
good.
hope it does well. But I mean, like to me, Keaton is the draw to me.
I
No.
Yeah, see, you have a positive feel about Keaton. I like Keaton as Bat. I don't like the Batman movie, but it has nothing to do with Michael Keaton. I think Keaton did absolutely fine. I thought he was a brilliant choice for the movie. I think there's lots of good things about that film, and I was caught up in it in the time. Absolutely. I just have a
Like
personal distaste for pretty
like
much everything Tim Burton, and I think the guy doesn't know how to make movies. And I think what he does, he's all style with no substance, and I think he wows people with like visual artistry, like look at my cool visual neatoness, and it's like people get
like
caught up
Batman
in that.
'89. The reason it was iconic back then because what it did, it took them. It was basically like, man, when Danny O'Neill and I forgot who the other was, and Neil Adams took Batman and returned him to being like a more serious after this Batman '66.
Yes.
It was, yeah, so that's what it was. It was basically iconic for that. Storyline was mid. It was cool to see Batman in live action with the Batmobile, sure, but the story, like I said, it was only iconic the fact that it was actually the first time we
Oh,
get to see a live action Batman that's serious.
it was that. It was
Yeah,
also the fact that they treated it to like a Hollywood level, right? Because
sure,
previous to
exactly.
Batman '89, comic book movies are kind of a joke. You always get like B actors to be in them, right? Like maybe the Punisher movie is like Dolph Lundgren. Like Dolph Lundgren hadn't done anything but like be the bad guy in a Rocky movie. Like
Yeah,
you're like it's like okay, this was like, oh, Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson is the Joker. Are you what? Like it was
and that's
they
yeah,
treated it
yeah.
with not only did they make a serious tone movie, but they treated the movie with serious. Kim
We all, you know,
Basinger was the like this was like, are you trying to make an Oscar winning movie? Like
so,
what are you
so you, yeah,
doing?
like you remember the reaction to all though is Michael Keaton, the guy from from Night Shift and the mother, and like he's gonna be Batman. What? And like Jack Nicholson, the Joker, like everybody wanted to go see Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah, he'd sold a lot of tickets, man.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson
exactly.
was Jack Nicholson was the king in those days. So
Yeah, but the second one, as much as I love Michelle Pfeiffer in that cat suit, it wasn't as entertaining. It was much more
no,
slower paced.
yeah, no, that's when Tim Burton went off the rails and became like, oh, the Uber Tim Burton. I'm gonna make it so
But
weird you can't even. It was like, oh,
I think the fact that Nick Keaton is such a draw because people, it's like it's been so long since he's been Batman. You know, we're seeing anything like that. People always wanted more, but they never got another one. It's like if Christian Bale were to come back to be Batman, the people would go to see that because he was my Batman. Even George Clooney, there'd be a draw for George Clooney as coming back as Batman. Not as
we
big, as Keaton, no. But
yeah,
like I said,
we
like I
have
said,
fond memories of the past, right? Like
exact nostalgia factor. That's the
that
point I'm getting
nostalgia
at.
factor. Yeah, like I think
They're
people
hoping.
remember. And I admit, like, man, when I saw Batman '89 in theaters, I was through the roof. Like, I was in love. It was one of those things that, like, later on, it didn't age well for me as I got more into film and things like that, and my appreciation got more sophisticated. I looked back on the film, was like, yeah, this really wasn't as good as I remember. I mean, there's a lot of great things about it, and I don't fault anyone for enjoying it. And I enjoyed it at the time too, but it's just didn't age well. And there's other movies too besides Batman that are like that where I look back and go, "Oh, yeah." But a prime example is Highlander. I used to love Highlander. I can't even watch the film now. I'm like, man, this film is
And
so bad. Like,
I
but if you said, "Hey, we got Christopher Lambert to like reprise a role, we're doing it," I'm like, All right, I'm kind of curious to see what you're gonna do.
If
Let's see.
yeah, if dude, it just sucks. Like if Christopher Reeve never would have hurt fallen off the horse,
Right.
and become paraplegic, and he was still alive today, he'd be 71 years old. Imagine Kingdom Come with Christopher Reeve.
Uh, uh, mm, maybe,
Like
maybe.
like I said, that I've always thought about it, like if he would have survived, yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, he would not get hurt. I would imagine because he's such an iconic character, and that's another thing too. I almost wonder, like, Christopher Reeve did it was a wonderful Superman, but he did that Superman 3 and Superman 4, which people didn't like. You know, most people I talk to, they like the first two films. The third one with Richard Pryor, I didn't care for. Fourth and the fourth one, The Quest for Peace, or whatever it was with the Nuclear Man. I almost wonder, like, hey, it'd be like the same thing with Keaton. Like, if the Flash movie, we're gonna have Christopher Reeve as Superman, I think that'd be a huge draw too, because the fact that he hasn't been he hasn't been Superman like all these years. The guy who started it has now come back to reprise his role. That's Keaton. Keaton started it in the movies, coming back to reprise his role. I think that's what they're banking on, that draw. But I don't know. I don't want to turn this into I hate Keaton. I'm just
well,
saying
I
it's
definitely
like,
don't hate
yeah,
Keaton.
like I just don't want him to turn into hey, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And I don't want Beetlejuice Batman. I don't want that. I want serious Batman. You
No,
know?
and I even liked Keaton's Batman. I thought Keaton was a brilliant choice.
Yeah.
I thought he did well with what Tim Burton gave him. I think he's to date. I think he's the best Bruce Wayne. Like, there's a thing. I remember when he was coming out, you mentioned how you were right. Like, people were like, "Wait, the guy who did this is gonna be Batman."
Yep.
And I had just seen the movie Pacific Heights. Ever seen that movie?
Yes, where he's the landlord. He's peeping on the tenants.
He's the no, no, he's the renter.
Oh, the renter, yeah, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he goes like crazy and he drives the landlord like because he's like psychotic. Um, so I had seen that, and I always had this opinion of Batman that Bruce Wayne is a little crazy, right? Like that's my take on Batman is that Bruce Wayne's not quite all there. Like he dresses up in a bat suit and he goes and fights crazy psychotic weirdos at night. Like he's not the pinnacle of sanity. And I know there's different takes and different writers bring different things, but I always kind of saw that. And so that he kind of understood the crazy of the villains that he fought. Now he was obviously high functioning, as we would call it. So he wasn't out there hurting anyone. Like his mental illness was something he was dealing with on a positive level, but he still kind of had that. And I thought Michael Keaton brought that after seeing Pacific Heights, like that level of like being on the verge of insanity type thing. And so I thought he was brilliant for that. No other Batman has portrayed that as well.
Yeah, because he just did Beetlejuice a year before he did Batman. So people are like, "What? This
Yeah,
guy's gonna be
he did a lot of comedies, so people are like, "What?" Um,
Batman."
Austin says he thinks I have mirror opinions on Tim Burton and James Cameron. That is not inaccurate. James Cameron's one of the best filmmakers ever, and Tim Burton's made a couple films I used to say there's no such thing as a good Tim Burton film, but ironically, there's a film that Tim Burton did. I forget the name of it, but it's based on the movie Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is widely panned as like the worst movie ever made. The guy who made it, he did us Ed. It's called Ed something. It's a black and white film. Actually, really
Edward
good.
Scissorhands?
No. Um. Anyways, the movie that I thought was going to be the worst, I was like, wow, you made a movie about the worst movie ever made, and it's actually your best movie. That's really weird. But Ed Wood, thank you, Maranya. Um, I found that to be good. Um, his Planet of the Apes film started off pretty good, just went off a cliff at the end. I was like, what the hell am I watching? But so I'm willing to give him a marginal chance, but no. I think Tim Burton is a terrible filmmaker. That like I said, all style. He's a high style. He's like the Rob Liefeld of filmmaking. Like you, if you love his style, and people who don't like Rob Liefeld aren't going to get this, but the Liefeld fans will. Like if you love his style, it doesn't matter how bad. Like Rob Liefeld fans don't care about how bad his anatomy is. They don't care that he can't draw feet. They don't care. To them, it just looks cool and they enjoy it. Um, uh, James Cameron did not go downhill. That's so screwball. Gosh, he's been nominated for Best Picture on the last 3 films that he's made, and he's won one of them, and he arguably should have won the second time, but he got snubbed because Hollywood went woke and had to give the first ever Best Picture to his ex-wife for a film that no one cares about. It should have been Avatar that won that. That was a super snub. So he should have 2 Best Picture wins. Um, and arguably, had they released the actual Abyss rather than the theatrical studio cut of the Abyss that most people saw, that movie is probably his worst. But the uncut version is, as my opinion, is best. That could have been a Best Picture winner too, but that we'll never know because those bygones are bygones. But yeah, I'm in the minority. I think Zach Hurt Lockers.
I
um,
passed it up. I always get Hurt Locker and Jarhead confused.
and I'm
I always
not
get them.
saying Hurt Locker's a bad movie. It's not a Best Picture, like, and it's certainly not Best Picture. Like, Avatar is like the whole tamale. Like they reinvented film to make that movie. Um, a lot of people take Best Picture when they judge it. They go, "Well, which movie did I like best? That's the Best Picture." Well, no, Best Picture is kind of the summation of all the other awards, like Best Costume, Best Actor, Best Director, Best Editing, Best
I,
Music,
I,
Best Special
I
Effects. You put those all together and say which movie had the best of all the different awards. It's there's no contest. Like anyways, I'm not gonna convince any of
best
the
picture. Best picture used to be when you had the aerial in your house and you had to turn it, adjust it, just to watch the movie on TV.
yeah, those were the days. You had 3 channels.
Yeah, and only one of them had the best picture.
Right. Right. All right.
Uh,
So let's move on to some comics. We've been beating around this bush for far too long. Eric
if
Breen's
you,
still
you
here, so
if you want to see some better movies than Batman '89, I recommend watching Johnny Dangerously, Mr. Mom, Night Shift, you know, Touch and Go, and also Gung Ho. Those are all Keaton movies you can watch.
all right. I think Pacific Heights is pretty good. I would recommend that.
I still have a guilty pleasure for watching Multiplicity. It's so bad, but it's good. Yes. Oh, he was in Cars. I didn't realize that. When I go through his IMDb, I'm like, he was in these movies? He was Chick Hicks, the voice in Cars? Oh, the video
Oh,
game. Okay.
and if
Yeah.
you are a big Michael Keaton Batman 89 fan, Birdman is a good film.
He was also in RoboCop. He was the bad guy from the reboot, remember? And he's also Need for Speed. Wow. I just look at the IMDb because Michael Keaton is a person I just kind of I thought he just fell off the face of the earth. I haven't, and then he pops up in Birdman. I was like, what? You're still around? I thought he retired from
And
acting.
that's the funny thing is Birdman was really meta because
Yeah.
that film kind of pokes fun at like that. Like it's about a character. It's about a guy who was really popular for this superhero role called Birdman, and he made. But then, like after that, like he didn't want to be Birdman anymore, so his career kind of fell off a cliff. And now he's like, it's one of those things. Like, and it's really well done too. It's a film that's shot all in one take. It's not really one take, obviously, but there's no cuts. So it's very interesting to see like the camera never cuts. It's like obviously they do cut, they hide them, but
See
visually
now
it's
when I go
one take.
Now I want to go. I'll play the game Black Ops 2 again because apparently Keaton has a voice in there. He does the character.
You're the only person. You're the only person I know that cares about like voice acting roles. That's funny to me.
Well, no, Call of Duty World War II, which came out a couple of years back, and Josh Duhamel is the main character, and he had a few other ones.
I've
Sometimes it's really good. Michael Ironside is as a Dark Side was phenomenal.
I've never cared about voice acting roles. Like it's just funny to me. I don't know. I don't get it. I guess. Um,
My Hero Academia, you don't like the voice actors?
no, I do, but I don't go and like. I'm not gonna be like, oh, the guy who did Deku is gonna do a voice acting role in this other thing. I gotta go see it. Like, I don't
No,
care.
no,
Like,
no. The cool thing. No, the cool thing is that if you watch a lot of anime, you recognize it. That's the same English voice actor from the last one.
that's true.
You know,
I do recognize, and sometimes it drives me nuts because like I hear the exact like the character. I'm like, um,
it's Vegeta. He does everything.
yeah,
Chris
um,
Sabat.
yeah. I'm watching Fire Force right now, and there's several of the voice actors from My Hero Academia are doing that, and I'm just like, I can't like not hear it.
Yeah, Chris
Um,
Chris Sabat does the voice of All Might. That's Vegeta.
there's yeah, there's no voice actors that I can think like there's no voice actor out there that are like that I would follow or like go watch like because they did the voice acting for. Now
I
I will
mean,
appreciate good voice acting role like when you if I watch something and you do a good job I'll appreciate and I'll want you to not leave it like Chris Conroy. I never want to see Batman not voiced by Chris Conroy. May he rest in peace. But that doesn't mean
pretty
like
soon.
oh he's gonna go do this other thing. I don't care. Like
No,
maybe he'll.
I don't like say like oh this is what the upcoming roles are. No, I like specific English voice actors. I kind of trying to stay away from the Funimation stuff because I just don't like the people there. A lot of them are jerks. Um, Especially they expose themselves via the whole fake Mantalia thing over or whatever it's called. But yeah, I mean, there's ones I follow like I know who video game actors voices like David Hayter for did Solid Snake. Some are just so iconic. So if you hear them in another role, it's just like, holy crap, that's that guy. I haven't heard him in a while. Like Frank Welker, you know,
Yeah.
he's been in a lot of stuff, But I don't know. It's just I just recognize it as being like a cool thing, cool job to have. Kevin Conroy, iconic dude.
He was as Batman for sure. Yeah.
Well, he was also Merman and the Masters of the Universe.
Yes. I wouldn't know.
Merman.
So
All right.
speaking of iconic, we are
Yes, this is
featuring
the.
one of the comics tonight. We're talking about Mark Miller, and joining him tonight is Travis Charest.
Oh, that's racist. Look at the spread here.
Now, I was very excited for this issue because Travis Charest is one of my all-time favorite comic book artists, and I haven't seen him do anything in like 20 years. So I was like, "What? He's still doing stuff?" Um, the art in this book is really good, but it's not the same Travis Charest that I'm used to. So it was also mixed bag for me. I was like, it's I'm glad he's doing it, but at the same time, it's not the same as
I
before.
I I don't know. I enjoyed the interior, and I've been and I looked up on I think Mark Miller was shared out or tweeted them out and about the book, and I was like, oh, Travis Shred has a Twitter, so I followed him on there, and I'm like,
Well, he
other
does.
than
I
I mean
mean,
I look
it's just very different than what I'm used to. So for me, it's just throwing me off because it's not just a matter of the quality, it's also a matter of the style that was appealing to me. And sometimes when artists change their style, you're like, oh, but I'm not getting that same thing that I liked before. It's kind of like when a band, you have a favorite music band or whatever, and then they like change their style up, and you're like, oh, it's not. I love these guys, but the sound is a little different.
I
Um,
said I love the detail of every little winding building on all the buildings there, the tree top and stuff, and just following whatever the river or train tracks, whatever that is, and just like it just really looks like if like see if you're gonna draw something like it takes place in Brazil, you're gonna draw all the houses being close together, usually on a hill or something like that, uh, like or Greece, same thing. So I mean, I love the detail in this, even the background stuff. You look at the characters are really cool. Uh, but I said I'm always looking at the background stuff, and I've been this way since I was exposed to Paradiso. So so I look at the stuff like this and like every little detail. Does it look like a subway train? Sure, it does. Even the graffiti, and then they get the little map there too.
Yep.
Just I'm loving it.
Well, that's like I
Um,
said, I don't say it lightly. When I say a comic book artist is one of the best all time, like I'm not just blowing smoke. Like Travis Charest is he was in another league. I might have to go find examples of his earlier work for you, just so you can compare and contrast. Um, he definitely has not become. This is not like I'm trying to say like he's become a bad artist. Like not at all. All I'm trying to say is his style is very different than what I was used to now, and so it threw me off. But
I
yeah, I
like
mean,
this. So yeah, the single mother raising the kid, and her son's being picked on. And she doesn't feel like she's like her son. Thinks highly of her. She's doing what she can to support him. And so like she like sent out a thing like she's contacted by the lady, the one who's basically giving people superpowers, and like and then like they find like you find basically she finds that they find out in this issue like you see like that they were accepted, and she takes him opens up a panel on the wall and like they have their own like secret lair and he's like lights up, but then she finds out like you see later in the issue they tell you like she's on a phone call he's like I didn't choose you because of your application. It was like you may think that your son loves you as much as you think he's the one that reached out to me about you. My mom needs something, to do, help her, just like it's such a heartwarming story, this issue, you know. And you kind of get like a little Batman and Robin thing, and the fact that they can like take like they're each allowed like certain powers at a time. But so they mentioned the one from issue two, the kid from India is currently using gravity and I forget what I think telekinesis. I think so. Like only certain people can have, use certain powers at a time, one at a time. So if one's using the other one, they have to rely on the other one, and she kind of explains that. So I just like I love this and how they kind of like it's almost like the Batman Robin, you know. Open up the door. Let's go down here into the Batcave. And like I said, it's just a heartwarming fantasy story so far, and like the detail, and everything. I mean, that's what captured for me for this issue. I was like, I just love the mother, single mother, and son bonding, and like she's walking through him, telling him how to do things. She's like, you can handle. It's like, hell yeah, mom. And like thinking like this kid's played so many video games probably, so we'd probably be a genius at this, you know. So she said like 60 different like programmed you know appearances, camouflage, but yeah, the biff or pow smash. It's like this is barely Batman 66. That's what it looks
mm-hmm,
like, doesn't it?
mm-hmm. Yeah, it was this page that kind of steered my thinking towards this book, and I'm glad that Miller and Charest did it this way because I was having I don't want to say a rough time, but this book wasn't resonating with me, and I'm probably gonna say like it probably I don't think my appreciation of this book is gonna match your own. Um, but at least this page really helped me because I think I was just like, I'm not buying this book. This book is or this story, I guess. Like you got this kid, he's like really troubled. He's like talking about shooting up a school and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, they're going the whole like, school mass shooter type thing. And, you see him here, he's like, F the
Yeah.
ambassadors and the stupid superhero. Like he's this bad attitude. He gets bullied at school. So you can kind of understand why he feels that way. Like it makes sense. The mom is having trouble relating to him, and everything that you're saying on a cognitive level, I understand. Like I go, okay, yeah, everything RDV is saying is factual, it's reasonable. I can see that that's what the story's trying to do, but it wasn't resonating with me. Like I was like, this feels like a little too convenient, a little too trite. Like, oh, look, she just happens to like have the powers that he's talking about, and oh, look, she's a superhero, and he's just like, what? It's like it almost it came off so convenient. It felt like a Hallmark movie rather than like you know what I'm saying. It didn't have the weight it needed. I wasn't sold on what it was trying to deliver me. And in contrast, the art is so mind-boggling, you know, like well detailed and serious and everything that I was like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to take from not tongue in cheek, but it's supposed to be quaint, I guess, for lack of a
A
better.
heartwarming, I guess a heartwarming that I kind of had for me.
Yeah, heartwarming, but to me, when you do heartwarming, but you do it like super convenient and trite, it's not heartwarming. It comes across as kind
Like,
of cringe to me.
like looking at this like scene where like this flying through the scene at there, the car flying. I get like callbacks to like heavy metal,
Yeah.
like because it's fantasy like this. You know, you see a car flying and I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. And then
Oh, this is. I mean, talk about the art here. Of course, I'm a Bugatti fan, so the fact that he could draw, and turns into a flying car, just looks badass. The illustrations here, flying over the Paris city, like just you can't ask for more from a pure craftsman standpoint of putting comics. My letdown was a little bit, like I said, it just felt a little trite. And obviously it didn't hit you that way. So this is might just be a subjective thing on my behalf.
I
They
wasn't. Like I said, with these books, I don't try to hold them up to high expectations. Like right now, this could be very mid, and it's still better than most of the other stuff that's coming out today. And I'm
oh, it's
happy with
definitely
that
not
because again,
mid. It's definitely not
no, no,
mid.
no. I'm just saying it could be mid,
Yeah.
and it would still be better than most stuff that's coming out. But I said I love the fact that it's a mother and a son, bonding together, and then like I said, this is cool. Like they they have powers, because what would you do? Like obviously you grew up with this having a mom, Can you imagine if this one day and you wake up and like your mom is like, yeah, we're gonna do this. You would be like, what? Freaking out, you know.
I think if
But
I read this book at age 12, this
yeah,
book might hit me a lot better. I think that's part of it. Like the sense of wonder of a child is like, mom's a superhero? You know, like to as at 49-year-old Ash, kind of like my eyes roll and I go, oh, this is like, but because I don't have that same sense of like childish wonder and I just accept what I'm being shown. Like and I'm trying to be forthcoming. I'm trying not to trash the book. I don't think the book deserves that in any way. Just
once
it's
again, look at
more
the
of
art on
like
that.
my taste of like why I feel the way I do. I still like the book. I would give this like a 4-star rating. I mean, just for the art
And
alone is
I like
look at this
this.
page.
Yeah, the detail on all
Look
the
at
rocks
this.
and the debris,
It's come
it looks
on.
amazing.
You're just like, come on.
And you're like, it's such a happy story. You got going with the mother and son, and then that's a guy who blows up people, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's like, I see dead people. What? Like he's basically does not like the fact that other people have powers.
Nope.
Yeah. And so Tahim was saying in the chat, he said, like, I get the feeling in this story that the maker of these home delivery superpowers is trying to clear her name from what her husband did. With the agency involved, they definitely have their own agenda. And it says that the son does have some negative thoughts to deal with. Like they said, yeah, the son, she was upset because the kid's being bullied, and then she found this letter. It's like, basically plans to kill people. And it's like, and he's like, Mom, I'm not actually going to do it. It's crazy. It's just, the chance of me doing that is a chance of you winning the lottery. It's like, it just helps me deal with stress. I'm not, going to do it. It's just saying, and just coming up with different ways. works my mind off it. You know,
So
still the
this is
kid should see some therapist. So
just seriously, the kid should see some therapists. And I'm having a hard time. So
yeah,
I'm down with the concept of like I love the elevator pitch of this. Six
mhm,
people, become superheroes. Who would you choose? And the first guy made sense. I was like, okay. But as each issue going by, I'm like, really? This is who you picked? Like, you picked a kid. Okay, so if comes to find out that the mom was chosen, right? And she wrote in that she wanted to be um a hero. Like she applied and she wrote like because she wants to correct her relationship with her son and everything like that. And so I was reading it going, "Oh, this isn't I mean, I appreciate that you want to do that and be a better mom, but as I was reading it, I'm like, I wouldn't choose you to be a superhero based on this. I'm like, that's not a good enough reason so that you can be a better mom and your son's like, make him proud of you. That's not a reason like
yeah. She says
and
it
then
was your email that
so
prompted me
the
to pick it.
so
Yeah,
then you get to this part where yeah, she's like, it wasn't your thing that prompted me to pick you, it was your son's email. He emailed 3 days later and he told us you were the best mother in
earlier.
the world. Or sorry, earlier, and made about the sacrifices that you made for him and everything, blah blah blah. He said that you were lonely and needed a little fun, so he asked to make you a superhero. And I was like, so that's why you chose her? So that because
Well,
his
this
mom
was
needed
this
to,
was yeah.
he loves you so
Kind of
much, he just at an age that he has a hard time showing it. And if you ever thought he was going to hurt someone, well, you couldn't be more wrong. So this is what the Korean lady is writing back to the mother of like,
yep.
and she's at her desk and just like the last issue it's kind of ending at her job and she works as kind of the receptionist at this hotel, so she doesn't have like a prestigious job, she can barely pay the bills, that's part of the whole thing. She's a single mom, and then of course, pardon me, Madam Govin, and the old lady shows up and she's like, I got an offer for you. And it's like, is she going to take it? We don't know. Now this one has a little bit of a epilogue where we get
Yeah,
to see the son and he's on this bridge and he's got his backpack. He pulls something out and it's a gun and then he drops it in the
yep.
water. And one aspect of it is a little heartwarming where you're like, oh, good. Like the kid, like he conquered his whatever, whatever path, whatever dark path he was going down, he steered away from. Yay, we can feel good about that. But on the other hand, I'm like, dude, this kid might have actually been ready to shoot up a school. You just gave him superpower. What the
I know,
what the
right?
fuck?
He's
Um,
Jason Todd.
it's worse. So I I read this last page and I just kind of shake my head and I'm like, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to interpret this. Like, I have a hard time feeling good. I mean, I do feel good because I don't want to see him on the dark path, but
For me, the most annoying thing though is that now I'm left on another cliffhanger because they're gonna go into a different
yep,
person now.
yep, I don't mind that. But I'm struggling with this because I feel like this book is telling me like, yay, like we saved this kid. He's not going to go down this dark path and shoot up his school. But that's because he got to be a superhero. Like we gave him like that's not how the world should be. You shouldn't have to have your dreams come true or you go and kill people. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's this world that we live in today where if we live in this entitlement generation where people are like, if my life's not just absolutely perfect and I don't just get my way, I'm going to go completely topsy turvy. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into it. And I apologize if I am, but I'm just trying to be transparent. I did like the book. I feel like I'm trashing it. I don't mean to. Um, I mean, the art
That's
speaks
who
for
you are,
itself.
Ash.
The art
Ash
speaks
on
for
trash.
itself. Um, I still recommend this book. I'm looking forward to the next issue. I think it's going somewhere.
Um, McMarty says maybe the kid who gets superpowers might be the mistake the person who gives out superpowers made. In terms of someone who shouldn't have been given the powers but was. We don't know. This kid could turn out, being like, you know what? I'll go work for the bad guys. No.
Could be. Could be also the mom takes the offer, but the kid doesn't. There's a lot of
Yeah.
places you could, creatively go with this. So I don't want to make any harsh judgments. Um,
Tina's always like, it's a Make a Wish Foundation.
so um, what's kind of sad is that we're not going to get more Travis Charest art. So you're like, oh, it's over. But the next issue is Olivier Coppel. Coppel. I don't know. I wish someone could tell me how to pronounce that.
Olivier Coppel.
That's all I'm saying. I'm sure I'm butchering it. I feel like I am.
I call him Oliver. I don't care about the Olivier.
I call him Ollie. We're on a first name basis.
I call him O.
Oh. Um, so yeah, I
What,
mean, another good artist, doing the
what's up,
book.
OC? Sorry. Yeah.
Some girl with a gun. So
She. Oh, good thing she didn't grab the other gun he threw in the water. She's got her own gun.
we'll see where this goes.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe she'll be the first superhero with a gun.
Undead says Miller is doing big game and wait.
Big Game is the new one.
And Miller. I'm trying to go with Ann Miller doing big game #1. Um, okay, I was trying to follow the conversation. I got a crossover book in July. He's debating on getting it. I would say, well, what are you debating about? Like, it's one of the best writers
Right.
in comics with oh, who's the artist again? Big time artist. Guy did a Hoxpox. Um,
Greg Land.
no, it's not Craig Land. Here it is, Pepe Larraz. Um, to me, I'm like, there's nothing to debate. Like, this is gonna be, in theory, from just the credits, like writer artist combo, it's gonna be one of the best books on the shelf. So, if any books deserve your money, it's gonna be a fun written book by a really good artist.
Yep.
I don't know.
Pepe. He's a lobster.
Pepe. I thought Pepe is a frog.
Isn't that the name of the lobster in Muppets?
Isn't that the name of the green Trump frog?
I don't.
Pepe.
That's a meme that I don't follow. I know
It's
it
a great
exists, but I don't
meme.
know
It's one of the best memes ever.
the best meme
Marania says
ever.
Copia a good artist. In what universe is he not a fantastic artist?
He worked on Thor. I was
Um,
awesome art on that.
I don't
Wrote
know. I don't know if I
Shazam.
would say fantastic. I like to reserve fantastic for people like Travis Charest. So
Hail Lobster. Yes, Hail Lobsters.
Pepe Larraz is very good. Um, not Pepe. Sorry, Pepe Larraz is good. So is Olivier Coipel.
Instead
I
of
think
Miller, we'll have Greg Peck and Greg Land. I want Packland.
uh,
Does Trump smoke frogs? I don't know. That's like a personal question.
does Trump smoke frogs? Well, the Pepe frog wasn't even originally Trump. It just sort of like got lumped in there, and then fans
It's
just
just a regular frog, yeah. Yeah, just
sort of it's kind of like Comicsgate. Like fans just sort of like owned it and said, "Oh, okay, cool. Let's be," and it drove the left nuts. So people it just turned into this meme. The more they got upset by it, like the more the meme flourished. So, um, I got a kick out of the Pepe stuff because it just made people. It just triggered people. It's like it's just a freaking frog doing nothing. Like, uh,
every
but
time I see that frog, I just can't. I can't, bro. It's just I can't breathe. It's a frog. Literally
so
in snowflakes. When it comes.
yeah. Basically, Mark Miller is he's just a go-to. He's he's just one of those like consistently competent. I can't remember the last time he wrote something that was just like out of this world. Great.
If you want great Miller though, go back to Superman Adventures.
But
Those are good stories.
it's all good. I'll take consistently good over once in a blue moon fantastic.
Well, I don't say Oliver Blue is Once in the Blue Moon fantastic. Everything he's drawn has been fantastic. It's just art's in the eye of the beholder. You just
Now this
have
is
that eyes.
fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you.
This.
Although I think that car would break apart.
Why?
Why not? Why would it? Why would it stay mint?
I don't know. It's made out of super. It's made out of adamantium.
I feel like it'd be like the Batmobile. After a while, it just kind of like fall apart.
Uh,
Not a man. Not a man. It's not a adamantium. It's adamantine. Like in that Elseworlds Marvel, where they had Wolverine and Hercules were lovers.
Hercules, Hercules.
Yes.
All
All right.
right,
On to the next book.
now we're on to. If you thought the art in this book was good, you haven't seen anything yet.
Justin Greenwood kicking ass.
Sorry, I was probably a little too sarcastic there. But this is
Oh
Torrent.
no, you weren't being sarcastic. You actually meant it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See.
Uh-huh. Um, it's this is not Travis Charest. I'll just state a fact. Um, this is a
I'm
book
sure
called
they
Torrent, and this is a book that Skip and Eric and RDV and I don't know who else is reading it,
and
but
Zach.
got me like everyone's like, oh, Torrent, 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 and I'm like, why are you online and you're stealing stuff and downloading illegal files with Torrent? And oh, it's not BitTorrent, it's something. That was a BitTorrent joke. Um, so I was like, fine, I'll check it out, and I enjoyed it. Now we're on issue 3, so we're still talking about the book. I think you're the bigger fan of this book than I am, so why don't you lead on and tell me what you thought about issue
Well,
3?
like I said, let's go a little summary of this one. Basically, she ends up going to the cops the last issue after rescuing her son from the Lex Luthor kind of type guy. I forget what his name is, but anyway. And so basically, she goes in and reveals that she's a superhero, and she just gives a statement. The DA says, "Well, according to this, we don't really have enough information. You say the guy who basically killed your husband and kidnapped your son, but technically that's not the guy we're going after. The big like it was Kill Squad was the guy that did it, and without Kill Squad's testimony, it's inadmissible, and we have nothing." So the detective says like, I'm sorry, and I want to help you, and okay, so I'm like, okay, this is going kind of like kind of tropey a little bit first, for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes here and she's still kind of called that kid, the kid who gave her up, Slipstream. Like, why are you calling Slipstream? That's the kid that got beat up and basically gave out her secret identity.
Mm-hmm.
So then well, if I can't, do this by the law way, I'm gonna have to basically get kill squad myself, go after him, figure out where he is, so I can get him to make him testify. And she goes basically does the whole superhero like Spider-Man would do, beat up and same with Batman, beat up guys until you finally find who you're looking for. More so, Spider-Man did this back in the day. And then she finds Kill Squad has been murdered. You know, and because he's dead, she's like, "Oh, so no, yeah, nothing we can do." So I want justice for my family, and I can't sit there through the so-called justice system. Like, it looks like I'm left to do it in yourself situation. Now she has to deal with everybody knows. Now the press knows that she basically who she is. And they're just basically harassing her. She takes her. She says like, yeah. Eventually, they go away. Turns out she goes to insurance company, gets the like his life insurance. for the Adam, the homeowner's insurance on the apartment, and then almost $2 million total. And then she buys guns, lots of guns. And now, you know, and this is that kid. This is no, this is someone else. But basically, they're basically trying to. This is the guy, one of the goons. He's like, hey, I'm gonna let you know that she's out looking. She's looking for test. What's his name? Kill Squad. That's fine. He's like, yeah, but she has no chance. Because he cannot testify because he's dead. She's just basically does her and starts taking down villains left and right. And she, like I said, like she kind of goes Punisher in a sense, which I kind of liked. This is what I was expecting from the very first beginning until that second issue threw me off, you know, or the end of the first issue, say. But look at, she's like murdering, like, what the heck? She's just like, you're only in this universe, you're allowed to shoot and kill people. It's the heroes. It's technically like hero more. It's basically a personal vendetta. She's doing this, and she's like, well, if I can't. Basically, her whole plan was to basically to mess up the guy's operation, hurt him enough financially, you know, till they get a showdown. And she says, like, I know I'm lying. I says, I can't say as much as this is as much fun though. She's like, I don't lie myself. There's nothing fun about this at all, you know. Like just like it's like she goes back and she just like see her having a mental breakdown, and just thinking about everything, her husband and everything in her life. I was just all she's still basically in like PTS, PTSD, grieving, you know. Yeah, and then you see her again here, like she's in an RPG. And she's like, yeah, we're gonna fuck up his basically his drug running thing. So basically, she's just basically going full out like vigilante, just like say screw you. It's like I'm just gonna do what I want now. It's really like there's no more superhero code ethics, which can be kind of like if you're like, well, she shouldn't do this. This isn't right. Vengeance, we shouldn't seek vengeance. But so she leaves the guy. So leaves the guy alive. She's like, he's like, tell your boss what happened. And then this is what really changed it for me because I was like, I was wondering if this was going to happen. And we see the detective that was questioning her in the beginning and just revealed that everyone at the police force, like he basically, it's like Gotham City, basically GCPD. He owns pretty much everyone at the cops there, including her as well. And even though she doesn't like him. And now so they've issued a warrant out for her arrest and stuff. Just like it's like I said, I thought this was like it was going pretty well. It started going a little cliche, but overall, I still enjoyed it. But and then here, yeah, at the very end, she's like stopped by one of the Superman of the Justice League, of their thing.
Yeah, I forgot his
You know,
name. Um, yeah,
I don't,
she's
I
all
don't.
going nuts. It's like, Michelle, I think you and I need to have a talk.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, what would like? It's like a basic superhero having this. Your whole life is messed up. You lose all of your life. Like it's basically like what she did crossline. She started killing, but we've seen this before. Like if Superman or not Superman, but basically if like a Spider-Man had lost Mary Jane or whatever, he just beat the shit out of criminals. You know, but it's like overall, I'm curious to see where it's gonna go from this because is she gonna fight against this guy now? I mean, she's spiraling really bad. You know.
Yeah, that was the most interesting thing really about this book is her spiraling. This is probably my least favorite issue, but take that with a grain of salt because this is like we're in act 2 of the story, right? This is like a 6-issue
Yeah.
miniseries.
Yeah.
And so act 2s are typically sort of like your lull, if you will, like um
Yeah. Tom McGuire, the low, and like yeah. There's always the hero gets knocked down, and it looks like the hero's not going to make up. But then at the very end, the hero gets back up and wins. So who
yeah,
knows?
so uh, it was really like really frustrating, and I guess it's important that it's frustrating because you gotta feel for the character. The last issue ends with her, like, giving up her superhero identity,
Yep.
which is a big deal because this whole comic is about the villain discovering your identity and what that can mean, right? We've seen it all before. That's the one of the big reasons why Spider-Man has always been so adamant about keeping his identity hidden. It's because he's like, man, if the villains ever learned out who I was, like Aunt May and Mary Jane, like people I love would be in danger. Like I can't let anyone know. And it's a really important concept that doesn't get explored too much because Marvel doesn't have the play to do that. This book just lays into that. And I think that's the strength of this book is like how the villain discovers her identity and like murders her husband and kidnaps her son
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just like you're like, "Oh my goodness." Like this book hits you hard. And then it's playing like what would a mom do at this point? And that's the hook that's got me going. And so the last issue when she goes and finally gives up her she goes to the police. She's like, "I want justice." And she does the thing that you think you wouldn't do. And I really appreciated that. Like I was like, "Oh, this is like really cool." She didn't just go like beat the bad guy
Well,
down or whatever. She didn't
yeah.
take like
Yeah.
the masculine approach to it. She took the
She did the correct right.
self-sacrifice.
Yep.
And
She
she's
did
like
the
she took the self-sacrifice role, which was the more humble. And I was like, that's the more feminine quality. I'm like, I'm digging this character because they're not relying on making her so manly. They're and so that's a big deal. But I get to this issue and right away, like that huge sacrifice that she does ends up being
meant
like
nothing.
meaningless. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the detective's like, oh, okay. Now, to her credit, the detective's like, okay, cool, we got a case. We're gonna do it. Takes it to the DA. DA's like, no, we don't got a case. And so that was like, oh man, that sucks. And then you later on you find out the detective's actually working for the villain anyway, because he's got all the
Yeah.
police in his back pocket. And you see this like spiraling. And I think in the beginning I was like really frustrated and I wasn't enjoying it, but in hindsight, I think it's important for the story to empathize with her frustration of like sense of powerlessness. Like, no, I just gave up everything. I went to the police. I'm looking for justice. You look at the beginning of the comic, that's the title of the story, Justice. I'm willing to give up who I am, sacrifice. I've already given up my husband. My kids in danger. Give up my identity. Maybe I'll never be a superhero again. I don't know, but all that matters is to save my kid. This is what I'm going to give up. And nope, doesn't matter. We're not going to get justice from the police, not from the court. You know, you're calling the sidekick guy. He's not available. No one's going to help you. And it's like, what the heck? So she's like, I'm just going to do it on my own. I'm going to go find this kill squad guy and get him to testify. Except the bad guy's already got to him. He's murdered. So no one. Now the press is harassing her, so she takes all this money, she buys guns, and here's where you see spiraling. Like she goes to the shipyard, and she's like, um, which is at this point you might be asking yourself, lady, you got superpowers. What do you need an assault rifle? Fair question. Now let me ask you one. You think superpowers send this kind of message? And it's like, damn, like that's what she's doing. She's shooting
Punisher.
these guys not because she can't take them out with her superpowers. She's sending a message. You guys are all going to get freaking murdered. And again, she's a superhero, right? She's she's spiraling out of control. And you can see here she's breaking down. She's covered in blood,
Yeah.
and she's reminiscing about her. Says, "Michael, my dear sweet boy, I killed so many tonight. So many. I miss you so much." The things that I mean, she's sacrificing her soul here.
Yeah.
Um,
Oxycodone, meth, yeah, just like she's like, yep. Do me a
so
favor, you're
there's
listening. Go
there's a
tell the guy.
deeper there's a deeper like personal story that's keeping me engaged because I kind of just want to see how far the spiraling goes and where it takes her. And at the end, like she's like putting the gun in the mouth and she's just telling him like, I need to send a message. You can talk with your head blown off, can't you? She's like, come to think of it, your head blown off is the message. And then that's when the superhero guy, I can't get his name,
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
Superman, shows up and is like, we need to talk. Um,
Batman, you've been killing people. We need to talk. Go away, Clark. It's my town. Like it's like I said, it's one of the Punisher does it too. At first, now because he uses rubber bullets, but before he used to just kill you, and that's used to scare the shit out of people. Like you're gonna get killed. This guy's going to murder people. No one can stop him. A lot of people would not want to do things at all. Just basically because they're afraid of the Punisher. You
yeah.
know,
But I just like and I love that the superhero this guy shows up because it contrasts. It does. It kind of snaps me as the
color down.
reader
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
it and going, oh man, she's really slipping. Like this is not how we're supposed to be. I also like too that he doesn't just intervene. He's like, let's have a
No,
talk. So there's this sort of identification of like maybe he gets a little bit like you're going through some hard times, but also from her point of view of like, hey, she's
there's
basically in the Justice League and she can't even get them to help her. Like it's this sense of like helplessness and hopelessness. Um, there's really something here in this book. I don't want to say like I absolutely love it, and there is some frustration when I read it. I will say to its credit, going over it a second time, I'm getting more appreciation of the book, which I think is a very positive attribute. um, a lot of
yeah.
books actually like fall apart the more I go over it. But this one just seems to get better as I think about it and process it and listen to Vankman talk about it and so forth. Um, I was annoyed by a few little pieces, if I'm being truthful. This part here where she gets the insurance money and she goes and buys guns. Um, the way it was written, it's like almost $2 million all totaled. $2 million in a country where almost anyone can buy military grade weaponry. God bless
Well,
America.
if you have enough money in the black market, sure. I
And
mean,
I was like, no,
she, she didn't get she. Yeah,
that's such a
that's
leftist
what.
thing of like, oh,
What
anyone can just
you,
go buy machine guns. It's like, no, that's been
well, I got.
debunked over and over and over and over
I
again.
know, I know, but the reason you're noticing that because Mark Guggenheim is a little bit to the left.
Oh, I'm sure he is. I'm sure. And
That's
like
why,
I
yeah,
said,
because
this
you're the
is this
same
is
same crap in Arrow. Remember?
yeah, yeah. No, I'm saying this like this is a quibble, and I'm just like this.
Yeah,
You know what? It's not the fact that she goes and buys guns. It's just the way that that text box was written. It just was like a little like stinger. The other thing that
you
got
know,
me again is like the leftist. It's like when she freaking like fires an RPG at this trucker coming on. How he's not dead, I don't know.
I
Just look at
I
this
think
explosion. Like it's a really cool shot. There's like boom, just blows the truck, and then he's like, "Holy God!" And her response, "There is no God." And I was like, "Oh, of course there
uh,
is no God because you're a
yeah.
godless leftist writing this book." And I'm like, does does the superhero need to say that? Like, you could say
I mean, at
something
this point,
like you could say something
yeah,
like God won't save you or something else, but I was like, there is no
sure,
God. Now contrast the very next page. Guess what the main villain wears on his chest? The main
cross.
villain wears the cross. And I'm just like, gosh, like again, these are minor quibbles. I'm just being transparent. This may or may not bother anyone else or care, but I like the book. These were little annoyances. I was like, this just feels unnecessary. Like, but be that as it may, I'm engaged. I'm looking forward to the next issue. I like that I don't know where it's going. It doesn't, despite what I agree with you in the beginning. It felt very tropey in the beginning. I don't know where this is
Um,
going.
I like the fact that they went. That Mark's like, I'll do it the right way. They tell me to do it the right way, so she did the self sacrifice. removing her mask, going to the cops, and then just basically proving that the system's broken. And that's why we learned that from Daredevil. The Frank Miller Daredevils. The reason why he goes out at night and beats up criminals because the system doesn't work, and he
Right.
tries to make it work as a lawyer, but it doesn't work. You know, he tries to put a fear of God into them to make them go, appear or whatever, stop them. Um, so Tahino says that this kind of reminds, he said, of the Frank Miller Dark Knight story in a sense. Um, very dark, very gritty, coming back and just doing whatever you can. It's like I said, for me, she went and she did the one thing most heroes would never do. She took off her mask, tried to do the legal way
Mhm.
instead of just going. And then she realized that it's not working. I need justice. And the fact that the court says that, oh, we can't do anything. I have no case, whatever, and the guy just walks. Even though that, like, well, she's like, which says, even though she says, like, well, we went there, and, like, the fact that he had my child there, well, you guys broke and entered. You guys committed crimes there. You trespass. You know, and I was just thinking, like, that sounds like a corrupt city. Like I said. So then she just decides, it's just screw it. I'm going Frank Castle.
Yeah, this is a woman like where no one's gonna help her, and she's got to do it. Like she can't. It's a very interesting story because I mean I'm not a woman, so I don't know what it's like to have that motherly instinct, but
I've never I've
I
never
can at
seen you get.
least cognitively process that like she's got that maternal instinct to protect her kid. I get it. She can't just like leave the kid behind. It'd be different if the kid was dead and then it's a matter of moving on or getting vengeance, right? And well, you can argue that, but here's a case of there's no question. The kid's
Yeah,
alive. She's the mom. She's got to try to get her kid. And no one will help her. And it looks like here at the end of this
yeah,
comic that the equivalent of the Justice League may actually be trying to inhibit her. Like they might be trying to be like, "Hey, you're going too far. You got to stop this." Well, she can't stop. It'd be different if like the kid was dead. They're like, "Look, your son's dead. I understand you want vengeance. That's not how we do things. You can't do it." Like that's a different argument. But smartly, Guggenheim's written this story that the kid's alive, so she has no choice. She has to try. And if everyone, like, no one can get in her way, and I find that a very interesting perspective here is like, what does she do? Like, will she
yep.
try to have to fight her partner, like her team? Are they going to try to inhibit her? Because I don't think they're going to try to help her. Maybe they will. I
No,
don't know. I don't know where the story's going to go, but like everything it seems so far is that everyone is letting her down, and she's on her own.
her best friend, the love of her life, was taken from her. She can't, and her son was kidnapped, and she barely got her son back alive. Now she can't see her son because risking the kid being kidnapped. So she sends her son away, where she doesn't even know where her son is now
Right.
until this is all over. It's like I said, it's a heartbreaking story. Like I said, but it's like, and then you said this on top of that, the cops are all paid by this guy. It's like Gotham City in that sense. Gotham, that it's like Batman doesn't use a gun, but he put on a cape, because his parents were murdered, and he fights to basically to prevent that from happening to anybody else. So him going out and just being a vigilante, just trying to strike the fear of into the heart of each criminal. Like her, she's smart. She knows what she's doing as far as this. She doesn't enjoy killing, but she knows if she just beat him up with her powers, it doesn't send a message. It's much more like, oh shit, this is a girl who basically never killed before. All of a sudden is just like starting to murder people. It's gonna scare the bad guy a little bit. He's like, oh shit, like she's actually doing this. Like most villains be like Superman villains, like it's like, oh, Metallica, it's like, oh, Superman, it's like, you'll never kill anybody. You're a pushover. Like you read that book, Superman versus the Elite. When he made it seem like he was killing people. Holy shit! Did you see Manchester Black just shit in his pants? And it's like he's like the Boy Scouts killing people now. It's like, what do I do now?
Speaking of shitting your pants, this is a book that Evil Black Cat's going to be shitting his pants for. I think they made a comic for him. Pure evil. There is no
There's
escape. There's
the
no
Mewing Evil.
escape the mewing evil.
Huh. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm curious to see where that comic goes, but
And then there's a comic for those of us with tastes, the new Ed Brubaker book, Night Fever.
starring John Travolta,
Right.
it's been auctioned for a show.
That's what I've heard.
A disco dancer goes crazy.
Night Fever, Night Fever.
Like I said,
All
I
right.
miss the Punisher. I miss the Punisher. Like Punisher Max is always one of my favorite things too. The Punisher stuff. Like
Yeah, I miss old school Punisher. Oh well. Marvel killed him. He's dead. Rest in peace, Punisher.
being the
So,
Punisher or the Avenge the Punisher.
one final book we can talk about tonight since we both read it. It wasn't on the official docket, but um, unlike the previous two books we talked about tonight, this one is actually my favorite so far of its individual run, if that makes sense. Um, so, Local
Just,
Man
just
is a really interesting book by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks, who you guys may know from Stray Dogs fame. Um, and it's about a local hero who at one point was a part of the equivalent of the Avengers. Um, he was on the team for like 20 years and he get kicked off the team and he goes back to his hometown. Everyone hates him. Apparently he did something really dishonorable or something that just did a commercial for Bud Light or something that just made everyone hate him. And so to the point where also he can't even use his powers to do anything because he's got a contract for the team. But something's going on in this town, and we talked about this I think on the last show. So I don't want to go too far. If you guys are watching, you guys are watching. If you weren't, you weren't. But this book has been getting better for me each issue. Um, I'm really hopeful for where this is going because it's on an upward trajectory. So the character's name's Crossjack. He's decided to pick up a mask and actually be a hero again, even though he's not allowed to technically by law. Um, and this guy, this truck driver who runs like he does like Uber essentially for this small town. He's like the only guy. This is
yeah,
like a comic relief that's been reoccurring. In the first comic, I was like, roll my eyes. The joke didn't work for me. But each issue, it's come back and it's been funnier and funnier. Um, so he ends up going. He's investigating his friend slash rival slash rogues gallery death. Anyways, um, Pepper the dog, his parents' dog, is somehow tailed along. He ends up leaving it with the priest who's weed whacking the lawn.
with
Um,
headphones on, you can't hear anything whatsoever.
can't hear anything. He goes and meets an old acquaintance who was part of a superhero team, and she's doing a book signing or whatever, and she's there for the funeral.
No,
Um,
wasn't she a villain?
yeah, she was. Yeah, she was part of the thing that Hodag was, and he believes that
Yeah,
she killed Hodag because her powers, or she manifests. She basically is like
a demon side,
Summons Cthulhu. I don't know, like You can see in the pictures here. Um, and he's just like, yeah, the way he's dead, like this is something that your powers would do. And she confesses, like, yeah, that could be, um, definitely, I could see why. She's pretty transparent, and but she's pretty rational about the whole thing. They talk about they were kind of in this self help group with Hodag, and um, anyways, that's a lot of boring stuff to talk about, but it makes sense when you're reading it. He kind of leaves her, picks up the dog, and he's like, oh shit, I owe this guy, and he's trying to talk to him, and he tells him about, hey, God does exist, and he's telling about how like he met him during this event called the Fallen Heavens, and it's
Yeah.
it's a it's a android thing made out of gold and platinum, and he's just like, and the guy's like, what? He's got headphones in here, but then this car is coming, and he's got to go, and he saves him. And the guy's like, "Oh man, why would you save me? What'd you say? You met God?" And then he changes his story. He's like, you know what? No, you misheard me. I didn't say any of that. So we go back to this lady, and she's, you can see that she hasn't summoned her demon thing in years. So we as the audience can kind of presume that she was not at fault, because obviously, if she hasn't summoned in years, she couldn't have killed Hodag with it. Um, And then all of a sudden we get like a knock at the door. It's room service, and it seems really fishy. She's like, "What?" It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a gift from the hotel." And she's like, "Yeah, just leave it." She's like, "Well, you need to sign for it." Immediately, I'm just like, "Oh, this is fishy." And she opens the door. No one's there, but then someone grabs her from behind, and then starts puts her head in the tub and is drowning her, and starts talking about like you're summon your demon when you're afraid, and she's like, it's like you're dying. I mean, you're scared for your life because it might just end any second now. So he's trying to scare her, it seems like, to let the demon out.
Well, we don't. You're assuming it's a he. It could be a woman too.
True. It could be a woman. He, she, they, them. Um,
It's
it, say, can you really defend yourself? Can you fight back all the way? Or would you risk unleashing your fright on the whole world? And so we cut back. Now we're at this bakery where Inga, Kroshak's ex, works, or maybe she owns. She's now married to the sheriff that intervened, got him in the beginning. And they're kind of reminiscing and everything. And he's talking about how she always got him. And he asks her, like, why did he leave? Like, he doesn't even understand himself. He's looking for some insight from her. And you start to see some chemistry like rekindle because she knows him really well. They had an intimate relationship. And he ends up kissing her. And she's like, whoa, whoa, what the hell? And um, he's still kind of processing things, putting together this mystery. Um, let's see. So he's like talking to her about like he owes it to Hodag to put together this mystery, find out who killed him. Um, and then we cut over back to, I forget what these
your
guys are
favorite
called.
guy, Camo.
What's the name of this team? It's like third gen. Is that what
Third.
it's called?
It says right up in upper left corner. It says third gen
Oh yeah,
headquarters.
third gen headquarters.
With
Third gen is
camo.
like the Avengers.
Yeah.
And so this is the Crusader guy, and he's sitting there. Of course, he's hauling a cross. Like it's kind of cliche.
Yeah.
And we see here on the iPad or whatever, like local man saves priest. So he's like, I'm gonna have to go have a talk with him because they know it's him, and he's not supposed to be saving people because they got a weird contract. Um, so back at the water park in the hotel, the room service discovers the dead body. This lady looks like she did not let out her power. Also, during this, forget where it was. Oh no, it's next because there's a backstory. New Stray
Yeah.
Dogs book coming out for those that are interested. So in all these issues, you get a backstory, which is drawn by
I
Tim Seeley.
and this ties into what they're talking about, the fallen gods, how you met God,
Yes.
or no, yeah,
The so this is the fallen. Remember, he mentioned the fallen heaven storyline. So this is Fallen Heavens Part 11 of a 16-part mega event. So we jump
yeah.
in the story, and it's the heavens have opened up, and this is also kind of where you get to see Crossjack kind of started building like the a romance with
Chemistry.
Neon. And you come to find out that Crusader kind of wanted it. Um, and she's like, "This is about Crusader. You're afraid of him." And he's like, "Well, sure. Who wouldn't be?" And
She
he
said, "You never
says,
look at me.
"He's
You
like
never look at me."
the guy literally walked into hell to fight Satan. He's the only one pious enough to even take the seat back from the devil. Like capital D, like so." I
Yeah,
kind of want to read these books. Like I want to like these are like fictional comics, right? But I'm like, I would read this event. Like, look at this
so
guy.
absurd.
Go, yeah, it's so absurd. And he's like, he is scary and unpredictable to you, maybe, but to me, he's an open book. He likes you. That's why he beat the shit out of your old bad guy. He wants you to like him, and he wants you to like me. Bow chicka wow wow. He's like, Erica, you're
If you
married,
cuddle.
right? And it's like, God is off his seat, and hell is on earth, Jack. It's a little too late to care about the rules.
So
Uh,
she's a tramp.
yeah, well. Remember, she's like a hippie, right? Remember, she came from like some commune.
Yeah, they always had sex all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, anyways, I just love how the comic book parts are just so extreme and absurd.
Like, so I don't think it's that. I don't think he got kicked out because she made out with him and all that stuff. I think it's because he learned how corrupt they are.
That could
He quit
be.
conscience.
That could be.
That's what I'm thinking.
So yeah, these little backstory parts give you a little bit of insight, and they do it in a kind of a fun way. They tell it like a
Yeah,
old
they're
Rob
like
Liefeld comic.
when you ever read the Marvel, Stan would be like, "This happened in this last issue." So that the backup, so this backup story is like when you have the asterisk, you'd have like where they mentioned like, "Don't you remember all this happened in the Fallen Heavens? You know, where the God's not real, whatever." And and then this would be like, okay, you saw the asterisk where this is attached to. Here's the information about that.
Yep.
So each story has the back give issue like that that's basically connected to something that they said in the main story. Like I don't, like you said, I mean, I don't think it's her at first. It could, but then again, it could be.
I think it's her.
Yeah,
I do like also we get a little insight to Crossjack's powers, which I thought were interesting because I just was like, oh, he's just
yeah.
another like bullseye character. But this part I thought was interesting. It says a thing. What is this? Because you're a superpowered being or a freak or a mutant or whatever, a thing that means whatever you touch, you can see the potential in it, how best to use it, how to hold it, where to put it. And sure, you mostly use it for shields and nunchucks and like eskrima sticks, but I always figured that must also make a place like Farmington a hard place for you. Um, so his power, essentially, what she's interpreting here is like whenever he holds something, he knows how to use it and where it should be. He puts it in its proper place. So if it's a weapon, it gets used to like hit an enemy or whatever. But that theoretically means like that if it's not a weapon, like he can use. And I was like, that makes it so much more interesting than just being able to like always hit your target. It's about putting an object in its proper place, um, which is something I haven't seen done before. So I'm hoping that I'm interpreting that right, and we get to see um, that used more. Um, but I thought that
I keep thinking that's a statue, but that's at
right.
the stripper girl. I was like,
So this
wow,
is a
they put a
fun,
statue. Yeah,
interesting book. I love how they incorporate the backstory. I love the way you put it. Like
yeah,
this is the asterisks. Like it is.
Yeah.
It's the asterisk story. Whenever they say, "Oh, this took place during here," and it's like, boom, we get to see it. Um, yeah.
It's a
So,
clever way of having a callback to a story without interrupting the actual main story.
yep, very cool.
Like I said,
Um,
it's just Tim Seeley. I'm not a huge fan of Tim Seeley's stuff. I liked cast his what was it, Hack Slash, but that went really woke towards the end. And I kind of lost interest for it because he kind of started ruining it. But it's I'm not sure. Now Tony Fleeks is also co-writing this, so maybe Tony Fleeks. Is that Tony? Is a guy or is a girl? Tony Fleeks.
I believe it's a guy.
Okay, I never know because
Wow. I mean, these
Anyway,
days you can never really know.
yeah, I can't remember how it's spelled with the I or Y,
Why?
but all right.
But that doesn't
So
matter either. They could be gender fluid. I don't know.
regardless, I'm just saying maybe that's why it's a little better, or it's because maybe he's just happy with Joe Biden being president, so he doesn't care about Trump anymore, and he's able to write stuff now without being triggered.
Yeah, I
Don't know.
I I, I believe putting these two together has made it. I don't know if this was a Tim Seeley book by himself. I would be interested, but he's not one of those type of writers who's totally burned bridges with me. Um, I I can't say I've ever read anything by Tim Seeley where I'm like, wow, that was amazing. But I haven't read enough to like write him off. He's not one of those type of people like Teeny Howard or something where I'm just like, I just know it's gonna suck no matter what.
You know what? It's also a callback with the whole with her like wanting to kiss him is a callback to the thing Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean Grey.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the fact he's got an X on his shield and he gets said it's look up if you look up the character Maverick from the Marvel from the Weapon X program. He has similar like he has the headset like that cross check wears this costume. Doesn't have the shield, but that was always funny. I was like, it's like wow, they just kind of took like the guy's costume and changed it a little bit. But yeah, like I said, the whole X, on top of saying it just reminds me of X Men, doesn't it? it's but I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm curious to see where this goes to because like it's been a while since I've read a Tim Seeley book that I actually liked. Because Tim Seeley's been doing, he's been doing the Gwen saga at Marvel, the Spider Gwen. Yeah, he's been doing that crap.
Austin says reminds me of different creative ways Stan would use his superpowers. Sorry, would have his supers use their powers. Either Spidey's webs being multifaceted, and the X Men using their powers for mundane things at home. Very cool. Um, Undead says pure evil is Mirka Andolfo is a mid rider. Well, it's evil Black Cat. He doesn't. It's not like he's got taste.
Are you? Oh wait! Did he say it's medieval?
Uh, I love these alternate covers too. This is the Brett Booth cover.
That's the boys' cover, right? I keep thinking of that.
This is the evil team that Demon Girl is on with Hodag.
That could be Camo right there. We don't know. Yeah.
It's always about taste with Ash.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not sure. I don't know sure what to say about that.
What
We're-
means it being subjective taste of what you like and what you don't like.
yeah, I mean, we're talking about tastes. I mean, that's, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just like these covers. They've been doing it on all of them, and it just reminds me of an old. I mean, the fact is they're using old image artists like Brett Booth, so it kind of captures that as
It
well.
it kind of looks like what works on Cyberforce covers, or even some of the X Men stuff. You know, there were there was a lot of the covers, comic books in the early image, were the same as you saw over at the '90s Marvel and stuff. You
I gotta
know,
tell you, man, they're just channeling the Rob Life. I mean, all these characters are totally believable, like they came out of a Rob Liefeld comic,
Young Blood.
like Youngblood, Brigade, like
Yeah,
just the way Liefeld designed characters, they were so garish. Like this guy here in the front with the pink and the green, like just the spiky hair, just so obscene. Um,
he looks like a Cyberforce character. He's got the adamantium arm, the chrome arm. You know,
kind of,
the
but
long chrome hair.
Silvestri, I think Silvestri had a little bit better taste in his designs than Liefeld. Um, I mean, look at this freaking BDSM chick. I don't know what her name is. That character is so, or that costume is so outrageous.
It's Miss Perez.
Who's the hammer and sickle hero? I don't know. I mean, all these
That's
are.
that. Yeah, like I said, that kind of reminds me of the evil Nazi character from The Boys, Stormbreaker. But he's wearing a Love Sausage's costume. Didn't like escape the Love Sausage.
All right. I think that's it for comic books talk tonight.
Yep.
It's getting late. Um,
Sun's getting low, big guy.
here's what I'm picking up this coming up Wednesday. Looks like there's some free comics coming out. When is Free Comic Book Day? I gotta tell my.
Saturday.
Is it Saturday?
Yeah.
So I need to ask my store. There's a couple of free comics. I want to get this I Am Stan #1. And I've been curious to check out this Animal Castle from Ablaze Comics. I don't know anything about it, but I've seen it on the shelves and the art, at least on the covers, which seems to be the same artist. So I'm assuming the art interior looks the same. Um, so I'm gonna get a free comic book version, read it. Maybe it'll be a new pickup. And then there's the Dawn of DC We Are Legends Special Edition #1. This is free. And so the only two comics that are here, I'm gonna pick up this Astrobots #1, try it out, give it a
Let me know
shot.
how it is. I'm
Um,
not kidding it.
yeah, I figure I'm gonna pick it up because it's a small press. So if I don't get it, um, well then I may not never see it. So um,
Ninja Turtles out with Yosagi Jimbo or Usagi.
then yeah, so I'm getting the Kevin Eastman alternate covers just because I think they look really cool and it brings me back to the past. Like these covers look like when I was buying Teenage Ninja Turtles back in the '80s. This is what they look like. So it's
I
nostalgia.
can't tell. All I see is
Oh, I still have the
the other
comic
one.
on for you. I'm sorry. Let me switch.
Yeah, I can see your mouse moving around. There you go. I'm just getting the main one.
They're all good.
So
I thought you got the. Did you get the Kevin Eastman for the issue 1?
for issue one, I did. So I'm just getting the main cover.
Yep, main cover is cool too. I figure I'm gonna get Stan Sakai art all inside the book. So,
Yeah,
and like I said, like it's just a big nostalgia thing for me because This, like I said, this is what the Teenage Mutant Turtle comics look like back in the day. I just there's something just appealing about Kevin Eastman's art. I don't know why. It's like it's kind of ugly,
It's very
but
it's very dark.
yeah,
I You might want to talk to somebody about this.
it might be just a matter of my nostalgia. Um,
If it's not dark and gritty, it's not turtles.
Helam says Ablaze can have some interesting titles. Yeah, I agree. Blaze seems like a company to keep your eye on. So,
I
the,
mean, I got a lot of cool books coming out this week. I got Batman the Joker Deadly Duo, Joe Fix It Man.
how many issues is this Deadly Duo? Like, is it gonna be
I
12
don't know.
issues? I thought it was gonna be
Maybe.
like when it came out. I thought it was like a 3 issue series or something, and now
I
they're on
thought it
issue
was over.
7. I kind of regret not picking this up.
I think this is the final issue. I'm not sure. I have to look at series. It doesn't show next. So maybe this
Oh,
is
it
the
is the
final
final
issue.
issue, 7 issues. Okay.
Like I said, I've just been loving it. It's been a fun ride. Did Mike Mignola stop Karen? Yeah, there's that one.
I remember when this was coming out. Before it came out, you were like not that interested. You were like,
Well, because I'm at this point, I had basically had Batman fatigue. There was just too much.
yeah, no, fair enough. So
But
I'm the
then and then
I'm go ahead.
oh, what's my so yeah, I was like, and at that point, I'm at the point where now I'm gonna sell my James Tynion books for Batman. So I was at my shop. It's like, how much would you give me? It's like he's like, well, it's $2 per issue in store credit. If they're $4 each, still depending what they are now, the value, you know, those are newer books still. But I'm like, well, I don't care. I'll sell them for $2 each. Use it for in-store credit, and then use it because I said like I right now I have no room. I'm running
Hmm.
out of room for books.
Yeah,
So if I can, you know, I'll take a $2 loss in each. But like, I would rather trade them in so I can go towards the books that I am buying now currently. Because I asked him, like, he's like, "Don't you have like tons?" He's like, "No, there's people coming constantly asking for James Tiny and Batman's." Yeah. Uh, oh, look at the Clark and Lex Free Comic Book Day. Mm.
oh, someone shoot me. Hated it.
Did you see what he said? Using his X-ray vision to cheat. So not only that is Clark is cheating using X-ray vision in the description. It says Clark has no problem using his X-ray vision to cheat his way if it means getting out of Smallville. Yeah. He holds a competition to find the best and brightest summer internship. Clark is not the only competitor with special abilities. Just as his newfound friend, Lex Luthor. From New York Times bestselling author Brendan Reichs and artist Jerry Gaylord. Come a fresh twist, a familiar face to keep the readers on the edge of their seats. Ah, no. You keep them away from the book. So basically, they're giving Lex Luthor superpowers in that, and turning Clark Kent into a cheater. I don't know who Sergei Rozumsky is, but yeah, it just looks really weird.
Looks really terrible.
But I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, and man, a lot more books for Free Comic Book Day have been added. Well, I looked at this before, and there weren't nearly this many, so they must have not been solicited yet.
Well, well, the other bad thing is that some of these comic books here, like the free comic books, some of these are just reprints of ones that came out last year.
Really? That sucks.
Yeah, like Fright Night. That already was out. Issue one came out a while ago, like last year. Now it's a free comic book day. What? RuneScape? What? RuneScape? It's for Titans. Yeah.
What's interesting is the Animal Castle has the free comic book day, and then also issue number one is out.
Yeah, volume two.
Like, so you get the comic day version, like weird. I
Well, those come out on Wednesday, and then the free ones come out on Saturday. But
thought I saw there was like a Smurfs comic too.
you did. I think you it's scroll back up. You're going the opposite direction.
I don't need to see it. You just confirmed. I was like, I'm not crazy. I did see it. I gotta say though, like the free comics this year do not. There's not as nearly as many like interesting. Um, like the free comics are I don't know, like
Cringe.
they had like what the punch up, baby sister's little sister. Like what? Just Mexikid, like where?
Grim Fairy Tales prevents May the 4th cosplay special. Oh.
Where's like the
uh,
exciting like I don't know, just I don't want to even read these for free, like um
I thought Astrobots was a free comic book day thing. Here's the Smurfs anniversary number one there.
oh you thought freak this actually looks good. What are you talking about?
But I mean, it looks like a free comic book day. It doesn't look like a normal book.
Yeah, nah, you're crazy. There's Smurfs. Um I don't know what this West of Sundown is. Vault. So that looks like it could be maybe an interesting book. Animal Castle looks interesting. Um,
Girl taking over Lois Lane's story. Frazetta first. There you go. There's another one.
yeah, I can see
They
for
already had, they kind of
Zetaverse.
they currently already had one of those already out. Frazetta. Is that Christopher Reeve's Draculina blood simple? I didn't know they even had a third one out yet.
They don't. It comes out Wednesday.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it was
Christopher Priest. Okay,
Christopher
that's why I'm not
Priest.
getting it. That's why I'm not getting it. I was like, I don't remember seeing that one. The Pump Battle for the Pumpkin King. Night before Christmas. Yay! And why is Red Sonja on there again?
Red Sonia, the devil with the she devil with the sword, number 0. You got to get it for your collection.
I already have it though. I already have the reprint.
Oh, it's a reprint.
So it looks like exclusive original material. But wait, no. It looks like a reprint or telling of the original one, and it's got Torrent Grunbeck and Walter Giovanni doing the art. So
This is 50th anniversary of Sonia begins here with all new adventures.
no. So maybe it is a new thing they're gonna start doing, but it's rated T for teen.
But it's free. It's in issue 0. Check it out. What do you have to lose? What do you have
Yeah.
to lose?
Room for another book in my box.
Okay, fair enough. And then, of course, I just got to get this because it's Stanley. So, graphic biography of Stanley. Hopefully, oh, it's Tom Scioli. So,
Yeah. Written by Stan the Man on his deathbed.
it should be okay. Hopefully, he does some justice. But there's not much really exciting otherwise on the list.
Avengers, War Across Time has been a fun thing.
Oh yeah, you like that book?
Uh,
I
yeah.
I might have to check that out.
The
Oh
if
oh
it was
oh 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 oh! Free comic book day Marvel Voices number 1.
look at that. Cult of Carnage Misery number 1. Yeah, that was it.
Screw
That's the
that.
result.
We need Marvel Voices because screw white people. and screw straight people. Joe Fix It, people been liking that.
Well, yeah, you have the perfect Spider-Man, perfect Hulk. Uh, yeah, they're doing a preview for the Night Terrors coming up event there in the Dawn of DC down there, the purple one. Yeah. Shazam, I'm picking up because it's Mark Waid. I've been enjoying what he's been doing with World's Finest, and maybe he'll return Shazam or basically Captain Marvel being back to being what he used to be today. And then the new
Flash
Batman's out this week.
Flash is nearing its 800th issue.
Yep, new Batman out this week too.
Fell behind on Batman.
$7 for the Stanley Art Germ uh, stock card variants. Batman and Catwoman embracing each other.
Are you
And there's
freaking kidding me? DC's doing legacy numbers now?
they were with Flash. Flash is at Legacy.
Mm-mm.
800 is a Legacy number.
No,
They're
that's
not
its
at
actual
800.
number.
But no, but now they started over though. I'm just saying it's not. It's a legacy number because they started over. Because originally when
No,
they
they
started with
just
Joshua Williamson, it was one, two,
no,
and
no, no.
before that, yeah,
No, no, you're confusing. They just put Flash back to its actual numbers. This is Batman issue 135, but it says Legacy 900. So
yeah.
it's a $7 issue. It's issue 135 for $7 because it's Legacy 900. They didn't put Batman at night. They didn't reset the numbering. It's still issue 135. The next issue will be 136, right? The next issue of Flash is going to be 780 or 799 because it's on 798 now.
Yeah, you got two more. I got at least about a
They're
month
not they're
before I
not
get.
doing so legacy numbers is where they renumber it, but then they say, "Oh, it's legacy this." Like DC never played that game. DC just renumbered and stuck to it, or they said, "Oops, we made a mistake. Let's put it back to the original numbering."
So that's at 4.99 for that cover.
Right, because this is next month's issue. So this is
Ridiculous.
so it's issue 136.
I
So
don't
it's
like I
not a
said. I don't know.
miles.
I might skip this issue.
You're not going to skip. It's Legacy 900. It's 56 pages. It's a big milestone issue.
It was at 56 pages. Okay, I thought it was still like the same number of pages.
I know that's what I'm saying. So what they're doing is they're treating it when they do the legacy number bullshit like this. It allows them to have multiple milestones on a same issue. So it's Batman 135, so that's not a milestone. So they're gonna but it's Legacy 900. So we got to make this big deal. We could make the price higher. You buy more copies because we're gonna have all these different variant covers. But then the 136, so that way they can go when 150 comes out, it'll be like, oh, 150, big milestone issue. Do you see how that is? Because they could just choose whether it's the current numbering or the legacy numbering, whichever one hits a milestone. Now they get double the milestones.
I
It's
guess yeah, I
it's
do. There are two covers I like out of there though. And that's the Archum one with there. Your mouse is on. There's that one too. That's the other one. Call back to one of the original books,
yeah, it's a pretty cool one.
and it's the other one with the Batman Catwoman. That's the Archum down at the bottom
What's up with
left.
these shitty just oh look, it's just a bat
Gold foil,
symbol on the book.
but it's gold foil.
Ooh. $29.99.
Yup.
What the
There is a foil cover of the Stanley Archum. It's a 1 in 50. So I asked him like how much it's gonna be. He's like $40. He's like probably.
Big Time Collectibles Platinum Edition foil. Oh, it's only six
Keep
ninety
going.
nine.
We'll buy it. But yeah, 1 in 35. What is it? Is it one in?
No, it's just that's the
Okay.
issue. It's issue 135.
Well, I was making sure I wasn't sure if it was a ratio cover, one in like 150, 100.
No, it's just a $30 cover.
There's a red foil virgin cover.
DC, and there's a red foil.
Joe Quesada black and white stock covering is it? Yeah, said that too. But like I said, I'm just getting the Stanley Archer. Since I was looking, I was like, oh, is it the same? Is it cost more than original? No, cost exactly the same. So
I like this Jim Chung cover. It's pretty cool.
yeah, that's the foil cover. 1 in 50. I'm getting the normal one version of that.
Hmm. What was it? Lee Bermejo incentive variant.
Yeah, I saw that too. 1 in 25.
Yeah. Oh, a Joe Quesada 1 in 100 variant.
Yeah, right to Virgin variant. Yeah, all the different Batmans. That's kind of cool. But I want it as a poster though. There's a colored version up there. All the Robins.
That's actually kind of cool.
I said I'd very much rather have these as posters.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably say that about any comic cover, though, right?
As, like, all those connecting covers, you get two of them.
Oh my
You
gosh, are
spend
you?
you spend $14, you get connecting cover.
I hate when they do connecting covers on the same issue. I hate that. Do it on sequential issues.
And then it's a $7 book. Back in the day, if it would have been like $3.99 or no, or $2.99,
Right? Oh
yeah,
no,
I'd probably
this
get
is
it.
an $8 book.
Well, yeah, it's because it's incentive.
No,
I
it's just
think.
because it's it's the card stock, so it's an extra dollar.
Oh, is it?
There's a Neil Adams cover. Hmm,
Apparently.
interesting. All right, man. Let's shut this down.
I wish I could, but I can't quit DC.
Oh, Evil Black Cat's come back. He says these aren't legacies. This is only for the 900th issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a legacy. I don't understand what it says here. Legacy 900. That's what the legacy. That's the same bullshit that Marvel does. Um, let's see.
Mm. They
Um,
did that for 800. Oh, yeah, they said they did it for 800 as well, and then they went back to just normal numbers.
I don't remember.
Whatever.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying they didn't. I just don't remember them doing 800. Um, and then Action and Detective Comics 1000. They reset the numbering for Action and Detective a while before the 1000th issue. But that's what always upsets E all the time. He gets all triggered when you mention that. He's like, there is no Detective Comics 1000.
There is 1027.
And so, um, but I always commended DC. Like, I get it. They changed the numbering. That was stupid, but they like corrected it. So I'm willing to forgive and forget. Like, you can't undo the past, but they corrected it. I hate the legacy numbering because it's like we're admitting it's basically the legacy numbering is like the Bud Light catastrophe that's going on right now, where Bud Light realizes what they did was retarded, but they won't apologize. So what they do is
So
they keep like, whoa, we're gonna make this super patriotic commercial and like treat you like you're stupid. That's what legacy numbering is to me. They just treat you like you're stupid.
I,
Yes,
I look
you
I look
know
at I
you
was gonna
got
say
Spider-Man 800 and you paid all this money, you paid $10 for Spider-Man 800, then they went 801, and then the very next month they rebooted it to number 1 and you paid a, a bunch for that new Spider-Man number 1 because it's a milestone. It was technically Spider-Man 802, but they just changed the number to 1. And then when Spider-Man hit 850, oh, a Legacy 850, and 2 issues later, they did Spider-Man 50 milestone so they can get you double again. And they just treat you like you're stupid. And that's what Legacy is. Um,
so my question is how could Flash be at the exact those numbers they changed it for Legacy? Because it doesn't make sense unless they're going from the Wally West, number one. They're not going from the Silver Age Barry Allen crisis. Remember they've ever rebooted everything. That's why I'm confused about the whole legacy with the Flash. It has,
well, that's the thing. With Flash, they did the same thing that they did with the Action and Detective. They fixed the numbering. They put it back to what it was supposed to be. They also did it with Wonder Woman. Um,
it's
and I
just
was like,
weird.
cool. Like, I get it. Like, you changed the numbering. That was bad. You put it back to the old numbering. We wish you'd have never done it. It was a mistake, but it's basically saying we recognize our mistake. We're fixing it. I can. It's not a perfect situation, but I can respect it. The legacy numbering is like, yep, we fucked up, but we're gonna keep doing it because you're stupid and you'll pay double, and we know you'll pay double, so keep doing it. And I was like, ah,
Honestly, I would rather instead of buying that Batman logo on a comic book like that, put it on a T-shirt for me, and I'll buy it.
a T-shirt.
I want the
Uh,
I want the Batman logo on a T-shirt or a sweatshirt. You know,
all
give me a
right, so
black hoodie.
we're gonna wrap this up. What are we gonna read next week? Because
Well,
I don't have any
have you
books.
read?
I'm getting
So you haven't
this.
read? Have you read the Blade Runners? Have you reading those?
No, but we don't have this. Next week is Usagi and Astrobots.
I'm asking you. Are you? I see that's on your pull list from last week. Did you read the
No, I don't
other?
even have an issue number 1. My comic store is still trying to find me because they fucked up and didn't get me my number
Oh
1.
man,
So I haven't read any of them yet.
that's not good. You could always read Shazam #1. I
We
don't know.
could. I'm not a big Shazam fan, but I could if that's what you want.
Trying to see because I have you don't read Flash, you don't read Shazam, Batman Deadly Duel. You're not reading that or Joe Fix It. Moon Knight.
I mean, I could read a Flash. I mean, can I just jump in?
That's
Is it?
uh now that they're I don't know. Let me look at the synopsis for the new Flash. I think 1 Minute War is over now, so this might be anything. It looks like a new story. So all you really need to know from the Flash is that his wife's pregnant and he has 2 kids. They both have superpowers. He's a dad, and for this issue, looks like Mister Terrific's coming in, and he needs who's Wally's boss. He needs help. And the Flash family is there to work together, like the Fantastic Four. But let's see what else. I would say Shazam #1 would be the first one. It's the first story, first issue. If you read that, The world's finest creators present the world's mightiest mortal in a dazzling solo series. Dinosaurs from Space, The Clubhouse of Eternity, Homicidal Worms, and Talking Tigers. Yes, Tawny the Tiger. He's coming back. Uh, then they have atomic robots, alien worlds, mad scientists, sinister curses, and villains throughout the DC universe. Welcome to the wild adventures of Billy Batson, whose big red alter ego defends the Earth from its weirdest and wildest threats. Want to stop Lex Luthor and the Joker? Call Superman and Batman. International Crisis? Page Wonder Woman. But when the Gargox, Emperor of Moon, sets his sights on Gorilla City, that's when you shout Shazam! The fan favorite team of Mark Waid and Dan Mora, bring the magic. So I don't know. I've never really been a Shazam fan. I always thought he would be like a childish hero, you know. But I'm willing to give it a shot.
All right, we'll put Shazam on the list. Maybe we got some people in the audience that are curious our thoughts on Shazam. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. Us is it's like the most common Batman T-shirt ever made. Um, I'm not sure what that's
And
about.
then
I have a question,
maybe I'll read
Ash.
Astro. Yeah,
I've
maybe
never
I'll read
done
Astrobots.
I've never done a pull for my shop through League of Comic Geeks. Do they still do it for free day comics? I don't do pulls through League of Comic Geeks as far as like through my shop. Like they're not connected.
No,
Um,
but you can keep track of what's coming out and then go to your shop like the day before. Like I would go like on Tuesday tomorrow if you can go to there. Be like, hey, can you like pull these books maybe I would say maybe pull them for next week. You know,
so what I
that'd be
do,
because
I use
yeah,
League of Comic Geeks as like a virtual pull list
yeah, that's what I
that
mean. Yeah, it just
matches my pull at my store. So at the store, they have like their own form that you fill out, and
yeah,
I put my books that I want, and I match it here. But this way, I can keep track of what's coming out because I can just go, I add it to my subscription list in here. And when I hit the My Pull List button, which you guys can't see because it's off to the left of the screen of the sharing, so you can't see the button, but I hit it. And so it tells me, and I have a calendar up here so I can see, okay, this coming up week, these books are coming out. And so when
and
I
then you
go
have
to
a
the store,
printer.
I'll pull this up on my phone and I match up like, did I get all the books? Because sometimes, humans make mistakes. Um,
Sure,
I can look at next
but
week. Okay, these books are coming out next week. I can just skip forward and just see everything. So this is a way to organize it. But what also there's a number of other things that League Comic Geeks does. It keeps track of like your comics, like you can use it as an inventory. So here I can
yeah,
click, and since I've been back, this is not all my comics, but since I've been back into comics. These are the comics that I've been acquiring in my collection, so I can keep track of what I own versus what I don't own. So if I'm looking for a book, I'm like, oh, do I have that? This keeps it for, um, and I can share with people, and I can, anyone that you follow me on League Comic Geeks, you can go and see what's in my collection. Um, so that's there. I can browse books. So if I'm looking for certain books, you can use the browse feature to try to find stuff. The new comics button is what we use to show like what's coming out in a given week. That's what you see here. And we can go like, hey, next week it'll be these books, etc. Um, Now there's a retailer tool which I don't use because my store doesn't use this. But if you have a store that is connected, I guess in theory, what that does is, well, I guess allows you to find stores. Um, I've never used this part here, but I guess yeah, it has a pull list sync, so that's pretty cool. Um,
yeah,
okay, so this is kind of my area. So I've actually been to Kamikaze, so they do a sync list. Okay, that's pretty cool. Um, I wish my store did that. That'd be badass. So I could just update my stuff here on the fly in the app. Um, and maybe in the future that'll be. And then at the very last thing is a community section which works kind of like social media. And you can follow people and you can write comments about books and things like that. I don't use it nearly as much because I have my Discord and stuff, but it's neat. We can follow each other. I always want to use this more than I do. um, I always tell myself I'm gonna try more, but there's a lot of cool things here. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I've done that search, search for a store near you, and it never like pulls up any stores around me. So for me, it doesn't work unless they updated it.
And the thing too is your store may not even know about League of Comic Geeks.
Oh,
So
they know.
it could
Yeah.
be something that if you end up using it, like if your store doesn't use it, you might I would say you use it, try it out. If you become a big fan of it and you're really familiar with the site, then go to your store and say, "Hey, here's this tool that I use to manage my books and my polls and stuff," and kind of evangelize for it and get them to check it out. Maybe it would be good um, for them to use. I don't know.
Yeah, I know if you're on the app on on your phone, there's an upper right corner. There's usually a barcode thing, and I never knew that I could scan barcodes with them with my camera. I never knew that.
Oh yeah,
I never always typed it in.
yeah,
It
yeah.
pissed me off.
You can physically yeah your physical comics you can add to your inventory with the barcode.
Yep,
All right.
that threw me
Well,
off.
it is past midnight here on the West Coast. That means it's no longer Monday night. So
I would still say the best thing to do if you want to go to your store, create a pull list with them, is usually go there, and they'll probably like tell you like it's too late to order books for you. So what you can do is, so they'll usually like, if you have a list, usually Comic Geeks, go a couple of weeks ahead and basically like see what books are coming out. You can go to when you're on where it shows your pull list. There's a little button that says print that off, and they usually will give them like the numbers they need for ordering. And then also like tell them like, hey, like, here, give them a list of what commonly you're going to be buying every week. If you say you're buying Batman, you just want cover A's, tell them you want cover A's. If you want, if you just want cover B's, it'll give you all cover B's. You know, if you don't care about individual covers. But like, yeah, so they'll always give them advance a head up, before just going in there, because makes it easier. But
yeah,
uh,
my store has a
but
policy when you do your polls, like they
yeah,
won't pull specific covers for you. Um, but they give an exception for me because I've been going there for so long. Um, and I'm friendly. So I recommend. I don't know. Every store is gonna be different, but my store is pretty big too. So if they told me it was became a pain in the butt because people be like, I want the A cover of Venom, but then on Spider Man, give me the B cover. Like they're like it was such a pain in the ass to pull the comics, so they just had to make a decision. Like you get the comic, if you say I want Spider Man, they just pull the A cover. Um, so, but for me, because I've been nice to them, they'll pull specific books. Like for Vanish, I get the Daniel Warren Johnson covers, and for Blade Runner, I get the Sid Mead covers. And I think there's another book I do.
a lost piece like that barcode thing could have saved me a lot of time. Yeah, me too. I just discovered I've had this app for 2 years.
There's also a bulk feature. Like if you have like you want to if you have like a big collection of books you want to enter, there's a way
Yeah.
that you can like bulk enter. Like you could say like Spider-Man 100 through 150 instead of
Yep.
doing like each individual book. I haven't done it in a long time, but I remember there was a way. I just have to research it. Um,
Yeah, it just drove me nuts. I was like, really? I could have done this, and like this whole entire time, I've been manually searching up the title and then and clicking add which ones I have. I could just, it drives me nuts. So
yeah. Um,
there's another app like that you can, but it's a pay app though, and like you can just basically just scan the barcode and updates your thing. I was like, why would I want to pay for that service? That's not no, that's okay. Yeah, yeah, you can, yeah, the thing you can when you ones you haven't, yeah, that's the thing too. You like you click on the little barcode and there, and it'll tell you like, do you want to add all these to all once your pull list? No, no,
So
yeah,
before we
option.
go, I'm gonna make a little plug for myself here, just in case. Um, where is it? Here it is. For those of you who also might like video games, I don't know who those are, but Redfall just came out tonight, and I've been dying to play it. It came out like right before we started doing the show, so I was like, ah, damn it. But Venkman, this one even might be an interesting game for you because I know you like vampires and you like first person shooters, and this is both. Um, but I don't think you have Xbox, so um, that's
No, it's in Florida right now.
that's unfortunate. But the reason I'm
I know.
excited about
I
this
wish I was there.
the reason I'm excited about this is because it looks pretty cool and interesting. I like that it's a co-op game, so you can play with up to 4 players, and it's in a town that's been overrun by vampires, and you're vampire hunters. It's an open world game, but it's a day one release on Game Pass. So I'm a big proponent. I'm trying to always sell the Game Pass. I don't get paid. I don't get anything, but I don't like buying video games because they're expensive. They're more expensive than comics, and I didn't have to pay a dime for this. So I encourage people get Game Pass. Game Pass for the
If you
win.
if you looked at that Dead Island too,
Yes, I was a big fan of the original Dead Island, but I think I'm gonna wait on Dead Island because I don't know anyone playing Dead Island 2 for one,
and I saw my friends they're playing it, her and her
and
boyfriend.
it's like
Uh, uh,
$80. I'm like,
they're playing. I think I think I'm not sure if it's on Gameplay or Game Pass right now.
it's not. I
That's
would
usually,
be playing it.
yeah, because usually they like they somehow they whatever the money they make will go to they will go towards the Game Pass and other things. But they might have just actually went out and bought it themselves because they wanted to play it so much. But I was watching them. I was asking, I haven't. I can't remember how long ago the first game came out. Was that 360?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a while. And I asked him like, well, do the zombies run in this? Like, some of them run, some are bloaters. It's like, okay, I see. It's like I hate because I'm like, is it World War Z where the freaking those fuckers can climb? it's like yeah. There's all different types of zombies. That's what I mean. To me, that keeps it more interesting versus The Walking Dead.
Did you ever play Dead
Just
Island,
walk stuff.
the original one?
A long time ago, I didn't beat it though.
Yeah, dude, Dead Island was tough. If you played Dead Island solo, it was a
Yeah,
completely different game than playing it multiplayer because it was
exactly,
hard. Like zombies could
exactly,
overrun you. When
exactly.
if you just had one other person to watch your back, it made all the difference in the world. I
Because
played
you go in your menu, you can't pause.
right.
You're looking at your weapons, and like the zombie comes up, you're like, I'm trying to look at my weapons.
Yeah. But I
Yeah,
really
it's
liked it for that reason because it was really tense. Like if you went and just fought 3 zombies, it was a big deal. Like one zombie, okay, I can take one zombie on, but when there
and
was
then
multiples, like and so
you're trying.
it didn't need to be like World War Z where they swarmed you because 3 was already a threat. And it was,
Well, the
melee game, and I love that like you had to scavenge, right? I love that you had to go. The part of the game was like you had to go out in the world to find the things that you need,
get
but
the
out in the
parts or
world
whether
were the zombies, and so you'd have to sneak around, you'd have to be
parkour.
tactical in how you fought them because you can't let them swarm you, and just overall like was really cool game, and it just it the story kind of unraveled. It's like why is there zombies on this island? And it was at the time it was very interesting because the zombies were set in a location that normally normally most zombies is real dim and dark and dingy, the Romero type, Walking Dead.
Yeah,
But
He's
this
on
was like
Torrent.
on a tropical island, it's all pretty beaches,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and so it was this weird dichotomy of like, oh, that's interesting. But
I was watching them play the second one, and on the island, and there's like you come out these rich homes, super rich, people, elite rich people, and you would see like here's this girl in this fancy dress. I'm like, oh man, like she didn't last that long. Like this is a. And then occasionally you come across the fat zombie, but like or like the ones who like were just jogging, and I'm just thinking like it's messed up. So yeah, there's no audio for this.
well, that's because we're talking. I didn't want to put any audio, but just
Oh,
having some visual on. So hopefully the game doesn't suck. I haven't played it yet. But the idea of running around hunting vampires, each character's got special abilities. Apparently, it's got a little bit of RPG aspect in it where you'll level up your skill as you play it. Um, so I'm looking forward. I love co-op games. I love games where you can join in um, with friends and tackle things.
kind of
And
looks like a little bit of Fortnite or with the with what was it called? When do you like Left 4 Dead?
yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Left 4 Dead in the sense that there's like a 4 man or up to 4 man squad. Um, and
Really? I want to
instead
join.
of zombies, it's vampires.
I'd rather have 20 people with me. Come on, bro, we could take them down.
Yeah, no, you can only have. I believe you can only have up to 4. Um, but I like open world stuff too. I like where you can run around and explore. Um, so yeah, I dig that stuff, and I also love I love Game Pass because you don't have to pay essentially. But the other cool thing about Game Pass that a lot of people don't consider is when you have Game Pass, you have the same game library as everyone else. One of the biggest difficulties of playing co-op gaming with people is like, oh, I don't own
Yeah.
that game. Oh, we
It's
can't
like
play.
left.
Like,
Actually, the graphics in there kind of like Left 4 Dead, kind of like the Ghostbusters game that came out recently. Kind of cartoonish, but
yeah, there's a
still
little
like,
bit of cartoonishness to it. It's not too much, but it's not like photorealistic for sure. They're definitely going for like an artistic drawn. Uh,
autistic.
Autistic, yeah, artistic. Um,
Did you see that it came out with Down syndrome Barbie?
oh yeah, I saw this. Towns is so dumb. Austin says, "I'm sorry of bailing out on you in Division, Ash. I got busy. And no problem, man. I still own it, so you, I still like it, and I will play Division anytime anyone wants to play with me on it. I like co-op games. That's another reason I love co-op games. When you play co-op, it like makes things fresh. Like
Oh,
when you
what was
play through a story by yourself, whatever, like you did it, but when you play with people, it changes the dynamic. It makes it like an all new experience. So that's pretty cool. Um,
what was the other one? The zombie game where you're in the mall.
I know which one you're talking about, where you're like the photographer.
Yeah, and you have the Lego with the Lego heads, the top the zombies' heads.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know what
Dead
you're talking
Rising.
about. Yeah,
That that game wasn't co-op as far as I know, but that was single
no.
player, and that was I just love you can start the lawnmower up and run over the zombies. Yeah.
So this is what I'm gonna go play here as soon as we get off, and just bring it to your guys' attention. Hopefully,
Oh,
can find
wow.
someone to play games with.
Look at that. The zombies are diverse. There's an Asian, there's a black, there's an Irish person.
And if you have Xbox, this is my gamer tag is Ash1138. Um,
Why does it
just add.
keep repeating?
Oh, this is because it's just the website. It's
Oh, I was like, it's driving me nuts. It's glitching.
so
All right.
this is
You
just their
have fun
website.
with. Yeah.
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 Austin says, and I'm gonna go to bed. You go to bed. I'm gonna go kill vampires. Wee.
They do not say blah blah blah.
You got
Like I
anything
said,
else you want to add? You want to plug anything
check
of
me
yours?
out. Yeah, tomorrow night, a Geeky Puppet Show, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Zach and I will be going over the books coming out this week to talk about them. And I said, Astrobots might be one I might read. The fact is, it's the guy who originally created the Transformers, I think, right?
Mhm.
Or wrote it, and he's creating a new series. Uh, so much like that Jay Lucian liked it so much he created a server just for Astro bots on Discord.
Really?
Yeah,
Hopefully it doesn't suck,
like people are
Jay.
like, so if he's like, people are like, I'm gonna get the toys and everything, and thinking like, yeah, I don't know, man. It could be good, but like Transformers would turn into stuff like cars and planes. That was the appeal for me, growing up
Right.
reading it. This is through Whatnot, who also did the Wesley Snipe book too. Um, this third issue came out last week. That was a fun story. Been enjoying that. Oh, yeah. And then yes. Basically I'll be streaming by myself on Wednesday for two things. And then Thursday, Zach will be back. We'll do some more comic book reviews. Friday night, probably a retrospective and some readings. Like I said, it all depends on if my internet holds up. So far, it's been holding up. It crashed horribly last night on Sunday night. From 7 to midnight, I had no internet. So,
All right. So Ed Brewer joins us at the very end. Ed, thanks for joining us. We are out of here. Go see Geeky Puppets tomorrow at when is it? 8 Central?
yeah, 8 p.m. Central.
All right.
Everything's all scheduled. Just check your YouTube. Go to Geeky Puppet Show. Click on the live tab. So,
There you go.
all right, kids.
Good
You have a
night.
good morning.